Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. I hope you guys can hear me okay. This one is not, at least I don't think it's going to be long. I um I went out drinking with a few of the people that were here. I think it was like Brana and Kelly Lane. I think, well, drinking was mostly with Kelly. And I am not drunk, but I'm a ways away from sober. So let's try to get through this in the most expedient way possible, and I can take my ass to bed. Um, I am going to give somewhat of a small analysis of the people that I met at the second event that I went to. That was the one that dealt with Russiagate and Wikileaks. All of this at this point is based on my own perspective of what was being said, my own perspective of the people that were there, including some of the people that I met afterwards. Meaning, when I went out to drink, it was like Brana, God, I can't remember their names. Some of the people for election integrity. I met more people afterwards going out to drink and eat that are going to be on the show because I essentially got them to come on. They're going to come on the show. Dealing with election integrity. There was a gentleman who wrote the book, literally wrote the book on universal basic income. He's going to be on the show. He's going to give me his book. I'm going to go through the book and read it, and I'm going to bring him onto the show. But those are different conversations for different days. This one is specific to an analysis of what took place at the secondary process. I've had 3 mojitos, so my thinking is a little muddled. But we'll do our best. I'll do my best. It's only me. The WikiLeaks thing, so it's interesting. Randy Credico was the one who was essentially running that particular event. Anya Promapil, I may be pronouncing her name wrong, the woman from RT, the woman is gorgeous, whether in person or on camera, and she came in with Max Blumenthal. So it was her, Max Blumenthal, Ray McGovern, Randy Credico. There was another gentleman there who was also really knowledgeable of the process. Credico, I met him briefly at the point where we were at dinner. Heartfelt. He seemed, there was a gentleman that passed recently from Consortium News. He seemed broken up over it, choking up at one point during the session, looking like he was about to cry. And worried. And this isn't my impression, the impression that I did get from him. Mentioning the point of like these kind of legal lawsuits. Because when I first met him, I shook his hand and I think I was like, there's been a lot of weirdness associated with you and WikiLeaks. And bringing you in for testimony, that was the first time I heard of you. That's fucking bizarre. Yeah, that's strange. At some point, he kind of made the point of, yeah, I have a lot of legal stuff going on. This is not necessarily a conversation I can have. And he seemed worried. He seemed genuinely worried, meaning that they were harassing him for his interaction with Julian Assange. Now, understand what's being said here, because this is somewhat of a magnificent fucking thing. And I don't mean magnificent in a good way. I mean it in somewhat of an opposite way. A journalist releases information. That information has major consequences from the standpoint of the people in a particular country that looks at that information and says, oh my God, I can't believe this is what my government was doing. Or, at the very least, shake up the media establishment itself. The government says, we don't like the fact that you're producing that bit of information because that makes us look like assholes. Now, yes, we were assholes, but that makes us look like assholes. We don't want to look like essentially incompetent in the way we go about our affairs. So we don't like Julian Assange. And we don't want to consider him as a journalist. We want to consider him as a terrorist state actor. Kind of like the way Obama would say moderate rebels or terrorists were moderate rebels. Changing the name of it as if changing the name of it in some way changes the content of the thing that they're naming. And yet, from the standpoint of the media sphere, it does. Not in reality. from the standpoint of media. That media is too stupid to realize that if they're going after Julian Assange, that at some point the same thing, the same legal apparatus, the edifice, the shit that they make up to go after journalism from the standpoint of Julian Assange can also be used to go after them. They're so blind, they're so ridiculous, that they don't quite get that they are also on the firing line in this particular process. In the same way, when right-wingers were being assaulted on Medium and some of these other journals, my first thought, well, the first thing I said was, this is going to affect the left. The same thing that they're using to attack the right on this, the Russiagate stuff, is going to be used to attack the left. Well, media needs to wise up. The same thing that they're going to use to attack Julian Assange is going to be used, the slippery slope of naming conventions that the government makes the determination to name something, and they're going to be shocked to shit when something they put out is going to be held up to the same thing where the government attacks them. That's one of the things of media. Now, the other part for this, going to what they were talking about Wikileaks, of course, everybody on stage says this is nonsense. Now, Ray McGovern is probably the most credible person when he's saying this is nonsense, because Ray McGovern goes into this thing of, you don't quite understand what your CIA is doing. And you go about your affairs in a normal day-to-day way, in your normal day-to-day interactions, where you're just trying to be decent people. Most people just try to be decent people. And it is difficult to understand the perspective of an organization that doesn't think that way, that are full of psychopaths. And in those people being psychopaths, that's somewhat of a prerequisite for the job. Now, imagining the people who are involved in the process of giving weapons, knowing those weapons are going to be used to kill civilians. Who are the people who draw up these plans that killed large numbers of people from these drone strikes? That takes a different mindset from the way that people go up with their normal affairs. What about the people who undermine states, undermine governments, undermine in other countries to foment those revolutions and everything else? Weird to believe that those things aren't necessarily ever used on the U.S., especially if it's used in a way where they think this is in the best interest of the country. And those people involved convince themselves of those things. Ray McGovern is fascinating because Ray McGovern has been in this world, and Ray McGovern makes this point, and in the most earnest of ways, he comes across as extraordinarily earnest, like earnest to an epic degree, where he's just saying, this is my experience, and in my experience, of course these things would take place because these things were taking place during my time. If you believe that the CIA is not doing these things, then you haven't been paying attention. Now, what I mean by these things is stuff that could be considered conspiracy theory. But because Ray McGovern has been in this world, it's like it's hard to kind of give it the label of conspiracy theory. Ray McGovern kind of makes this point where he says the hacking tools that were released by Wikileaks. He says, and the press comes across this feature that they can make this look like multiple nations, leaving those traces. And the press says, that's interesting, and it moves on. Never once being intellectually honest, or at the very least questioning, is it possible that those same hacking tools that were used that can mimic other nations is possibly mimicking another nation now? Doesn't apply. Because for that to be true, you would have to implicate either the FBI or the CIA into something that's gross and nasty, and the press doesn't have the capacity to ask those questions of the intelligence services in this country. Ray McGovern does. It's a fascinating thing to hear him talk about that stuff. And, makes the point that NSA, CIA, they have all of the information. Like all of your phone calls. If something like that was taking place, they would already have that data. They would already have that information. It's not a situation of the NSA can't find it. The NSA will already have it. If they can't find it, that means they don't have it. He's making the point that the NSA has the data. If it existed, you would already see it. It doesn't exist. The NSA is collecting all of our information. If they had it, it would exist. Kelly took a picture with Ray McGovern, and Ray McGovern gives her this creepy, extraordinarily unsettling statement of the FBI are now watching you because you have a picture of me. And by putting a picture of me on your phone, they're now paying attention to you and the information that you come up with. Now, he told her that because he's making a point that the picture of him was enough to trigger something for monitoring. And that's creepy and fascinating slightly, but somewhat creepy. And this leads to somewhat of a conversation where Brana and all of us are kind of having this thing of your cell phone monitoring you. Like certain words and certain information. Say for the example that Google has relationships with many of these places who are paying for clicks. And Google says, if this word comes up, let's say Canada, if Canada comes up. If the person says Canada, show them information about trips to Canada. Now, if the person clicks on that, that's great. If the person doesn't, that's fine. But ultimately, you're doing for clicks. So Google doesn't necessarily need an incentive from any other source other than the monitor incentive to essentially listen for certain words and give those things to you in your Chrome application the moment that you log in. They may delete the stuff as you're saying it, saying for the keywords, but that's still somewhat creepy, this idea that your cell phone could be potentially monitoring you. It's already checking your location, meaning where you are. Google already says, hey, you're in this place, would you like to check in? Meaning it's following you and monitoring your locations. It already reads your email, meaning if you're having a conversation in email talking about a flight, it would give you flight information saying, hey, you're going to miss your flight, or hey, here's a notification for your flight. Is it doing that for your phone calls? Is it doing that when you're not paying attention? The Ray McGovern thing was somewhat creepy. And he may be right, he may be wrong, but either way, the potential exists for it to be true. Max Blumenthal is fucking amazing. So Blumenthal comes in, he gives this presentation where he's giving details of individuals, their interactions from the standpoint of either Trump or the Democratic Party. So for example, one of the things that they make the point of, the issue wasn't Russiagate. The issue had more to do with Israeligate, because if you're talking about collusion, Donald Trump was working with Israel in order to try to get Russia to block the UN resolution condemning Israel for the murder of all those people. Because if you remember, towards the end, Obama didn't allow that one to go through, meaning the United States didn't intrude upon them giving Israel a condemnation. There was nothing backing the condemnation other than the nation saying, we don't like what you just did. You murdering those people is a bad, bad thing, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Israel flipped out, like, how dare you? How dare you, sir? How dare you say that us murdering these 2,000 people was somehow a bad thing? They flipped out. They're maniacs. The catch here is the Trump administration, before it was the Trump administration, colluded with the Israeli government to try to get Russia to block that. That's amazing. Making this argument that it's not Russiagate, it's Israeligate. You're actually going against what your government is doing in this case. But they ignore this. They pay no mind to this at all, and they focus on Trump and Russia. Blumenthal has names, dates, has what those people were doing prior. The man is amazing in regards to the information that he provides. Anna talked, Pam April, and I may be pronouncing that wrong, but she talks about, not Anna, what is her name? Is it Amanda? You know what I'm talking about, Pam April. She works for RT. Her thing was more so on the effect of the hysteria around Russia and on the media establishment. Because from her standpoint, everybody in her office is American. And all of these people just have a certain perspective that is not allowed on mainstream news. So RT allows them to have that particular perspective and give that particular perspective, not because Vladimir Putin is making them do it, but because they have it and nobody else would air it, if that makes sense. Now, here's the catch. This is reality, whether they want to say this or not. It doesn't matter if Russia is pushing them to say it. It doesn't matter whether or not Vladimir Putin personally is saying, I'm going to choose this person and I'm going to prod this person. It's irrelevant. It's unnecessary. He's looking at this point, RT, for subversive content. Russia is against this kind of American imperialism. It is all in Russia's interests for lefties to be on RT because lefties tend to be anti-imperialists. Now, it is a win-win situation. And I'm being honest when I'm talking about this. A lot of people wouldn't necessarily say this, but this is the reality of the situation. Vladimir Putin is not managing the events of RT and I want Lee Camp to say this and all that. It's nonsense. You have lefties on the channel because lefties are not allowed on mainstream news in a normal situation. People don't necessarily get this anti-war perspective, anti-imperialism perspective, anti-capitalism perspective. RT allows it. RT allows it because to some degree it's somewhat subversive in the way that we've gone about our affairs. And like we interacting in other countries trying to inject certain ideas and opinions into the mainstream because they're beneficial to us, our perspective, incidentally, is somewhat beneficial to the rest of the world if we're not out there killing and murdering and all this other stuff. This is kind of anti-imperialism. My point is Vladimir Putin doesn't have to necessarily manufacture and push these events. The very fact that we take this anti-imperialist stance is one of those things that's somewhat beneficial to the rest of the world. And yes, if your name was Vladimir Putin, you would much prefer that as opposed to some hawk that goes and potentially starts another world war. She talks about the hysteria and all the shit that these guys went through. Even to the point where the United States government was threatening to lock up the person who was in charge of media, like the director of media or something like that, at RT in Washington, D.C. It's amazing. It's utterly amazing. I can't remember the other guy's name, so I apologize. But it was an awesome lecture. The thing is, Ray McGovern comes across as one of the most earnest, soft-spoken, affable guys that you would ever come across. And the idea that the guy was some spook for like 30 years, it's mind-blowing. It would never occur to you. Now, his knowledge and his information that he gives talks about this kind of deep state stuff that takes place, like behind the scenes, where, like the hacking tools, the ability for the television to watch you, the ability for somebody to take over a car or an automated or a vehicle, and just kind of making this point that why do you believe that the CIA was using these tools? And do you believe they created tools in order to hack people's cars just for shits and giggles of hacking people's cars? If they made it, they're using it. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made it. They wouldn't have wasted their time doing it. Which brings up questions of, in what cases were those things being used? His lecture was more fascinating because his lecture got into this thing of what's real in regards to the tragedies that befall us. And how do you know that something that took place is actually something that took place from the standpoint of something just random as opposed to something that was somewhat manufactured for some particular reason? His lecture was damn interesting. Here's the thing. We accept for the most part that the Russia thing was nonsense. And I would even make the case that I think we've won the media war. Not so much that Russia wasn't trying to interact with the election. The public believes that, meaning the media or the Democratic Party and everything else. They won that part. The part that they lost was that it had any real impact. So it's, you are doing this for political effect. And the people believe that you're doing this for political effect because you are doing this for political effect. For the most part, we won that particular media war because the public by far believes that. By the same token, the public also by far believes that Russia has something to do with it. They just doesn't believe that it had anything to do with the actual outcome of the election. I'm trying to think if anything came of this that we didn't necessarily know. The Israeli thing was interesting. There was something else that I wrote down because it was fascinating. But nevertheless, this was a good one. This was actually absolutely a good one. I was not able to get Blumenthal. I was not able to get McGovern, even though I'm going to reach out to McGovern to see if I can actually get him for an interview. He's been giving interviews out, and I think it would be a really interesting conversation to talk about. I'm more interested in his experiences, to be honest. Less about the Russia stuff because I'm tired of the Russia stuff. And more about him. Like I said, Credico Didn't get a lot of talk from him, but ultimately you did get this thing that he seemed to be worried and concerned about the legal stuff, regardless of the mask that he wears when he's having the conversations with these people about it. So I'm not going to keep this one much longer. This one has gone longer than I wanted. But that particular, that one was good. That one was really, really good. It was crowded. A lot of people were there, but it turned out to be really good. Stephanie Chateau. Jamal is a master of Pim emphasis. Pim emphasis. I don't know what that means. Holy moly. Lockup director of RT for what? Yeah. So the argument was they wanted him to register as a foreign actor, as a foreign agent. Now, nobody else has ever had to do that. And he was slow walking. And they threatened to lock him up. Yeah, they threatened to lock him up. Galissi Gardner, it would be cool if you got to speak with Ray. Yeah, I would love to speak with Ray. I'm hoping that he's going to be at some of the seminars tomorrow. Hopefully, I don't have a hangover tomorrow, in which case I can get my ass out of bed to see one of the early ones. And hopefully, Ray is at one of those. And if I get the opportunity, yeah, I'm going to try to wrangle him for an interview. So, yeah. Hey, Jamal, are you coming to the Left Forum here in LA? Terry J, I am not. This trip, I went out for drinks with Kelly. And, well, actually, we went out. All of us were out there kind of just getting some, like, dinner or stuff like that. With, it was a bunch of us. I think at some point Tim Canova was there. I think, Nick Brana, Curl, Errol, the one from, like, the People's Party. It was a lot of us. The guy with the election integrity, the gentleman who wrote the book for the universal basic income. It was like 10 of us, with a kind of rotating cast because some people would come and some people would go. Credico came for a short period of time, but it eventually went somewhere else. And we're talking about all sorts of shit. Just lefties being lefties, loud and unabashed. I think the universal basic income is great, but what about inflation? Well, inflation is not the thing. You're just having these conversations, like in these kind of loud ways, not caring who hears it because, you know, fuck it, we're at the Left Forum and all of us are lefties, so we're being fucking lefties. And it was kind of those type of conversations. I lost my train of thought, but nevertheless, the people I met with that, all of them are ending up coming onto the show because all of them were like, yeah, it's awesome that you have a show, and all of them want to come and talk. But Credico was interesting. Credico was interesting. Like, it was palpable. Like, you could, you know, feel he was bothered by this. Oh, but my point is, this got expensive real quick. Like, New York is fucking insane. Cigarettes here, I don't smoke, but cigarettes are like $13. Gas, apparently, they're getting rid of gas stations in Manhattan. So gas here is like $5 and some almost $6 a gallon. That's insane. In the Bronx or Brooklyn, it's like $3. It's twice as much. Apparently, they're coming with policies in order to get rid of the gas station. So it was fucking insane. Kelly and I go out for drinks after everyone else, and we're just sitting there talking. And she buys the first round, I buy the second round, and I buy the third round, and I go back to pay for them, and it's $80 fucking $80. I damn near passed out. What? For drinks? We only had 4. I'm like, look at the receipt. I'm like, holy shit, that was a good mojito, but not that good. And my point is, this trip got expensive really quick. I don't necessarily think I'm going to be making the trip to the LA one. But, hey, are you going to make the trip to the New York one? So, you know. Patrick Swegan, for your work, Foreign Collusion from Canada, great videos, sir. By the way, I am Timmins from Twitter. Aw, thank you, Patrick. Good looking out, man. I appreciate it. It always helps. Jamal, I wish they would have shown this Russia panel on YouTube. Now, they may. So they did take a video of this. So there may be a video somewhere of this floating around that you guys are going to be able to see. It was good. Ray McGovern is extremely good. And Max Blumenthal is fucking amazing. His detail stuff. Like he gets into this thing where he's like naming and everything else. Like, for example, when he was talking about that panel, and he went to that panel, he started saying, Well, I came here expecting an independent panel, and that guy is an Israeli, ambassador or something, or Israeli lobbyist, and this other guy is some plutocrat from blah 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 blah, and neither one of you are independent on this. And then he asks them, "How are you justifying your stance on this, but being perfectly okay with Israel's murdering Palestinians?" Max Blumenthal is fucking awesome. Yeah, he's awesome. He's awesome. But my point is, they did do a video of this. 2 people made videos of this, meaning official videos of this. So they may be showing it. Credico apparently has some kind of show for WikiLeaks, where he does some kind of vigil for Julian Assange or something. So I don't know if this was his show, in which case they may show it from that standpoint, but they may have it on the channel at some point. Jamal, how much longer do you think mainstream media can keep up with the Russia story? With the impression of how much bullshit and speculation they keep going day by day. Here's the thing. They've invested in the story. If mainstream media comes out and says this is nonsense, the mainstream media will have to admit that for the last 2.5 years, they've just blown bullshit up your ass. Fully, all the way up. Not partially, but all the way. Fully all the way through, where you taste it a little bit at the back of your tonsils. That's where they're going to have to go if they come up with and say, okay, this is nonsense. I don't think they can say this is nonsense. How many have come out and said the Iraq War was nonsense, meaning the weapons of mass destruction? Now, yeah, they may talk about it from the standpoint of nonsense, but they never impeach their failure. It's few and far between where they impeach the failure of mainstream media that have lined up behind the war full-throatedly. I don't necessarily know if they would change the narrative for this either. All of the incentives go for them to keep this up, or at the very least be less loud about it, not necessarily repudiate what they're saying. Just my only thought. Tabitha Enriquez, Jamal, the unity for Julian Assange is going on right now. Haven't seen Randy yet. Randy is really broken up about the Assange thing. Between Assange and the gentleman that died for the Scotian News, he literally got choked up during the show, during the panel. Fuck, I'm getting a headache. I hope this was not the beginnings of a what is it called? Fuck, I can't think of the name of it. Garnome. I try to avoid eating any restaurant food in New York metro area, not because of cost, but because of the filth. I had entire city rest on a bed of rats and roaches. It's true, but Jesus Christ. Skip Rock. Admiral Rogers went to Trump Tower shortly after Trump won and told him everything Obama did. Trump is protected by Blackwater, so they can't whack him. Deep state is deep shit. Yeah, he did. He got choked up, holy jerk. When is the last time you heard from Assange? I am solid. Well, it's weird. So they told him that we're going to maintain your issues. We're going to maintain your thing. With one caveat. You can't say anything. You need to shut the hell up. Meaning, as a journalist, you can't be a journalist. So effectively, you've just neutered him. You've taken his testicles and you've clipped them off, knowing full well that you may be already inclined to hand him over to the United States, but you're waiting for a pretext for him to break it. Meaning, you want him to say something where you can kick him out. The only reason you would make that widespread ruling, that vicious ruling of you can stay here as long as you have no political talk. And understand any political talk is probably going to be used in the context of the person who's looking at it to declare what's actually political talk. So Assange says something, says anything, and the person says, that looks a little bit political, buddy. We don't like this. We're going to kick you out the embassy. I make the point that I really think that these guys are trying to kick him out the embassy and is just looking for a pretext to kick him out. Jamal seems a bit tipsy. I'm a bit tipsy. I wonder about Kim Basinger. She visited Julian a lot. Really? Surely that I didn't know that. Baltazar. In before CNN claims time-traveling robot aliens colluded with Trump and Assange through Randy Credico card to hack the election. Jamal in New York City when I am and just find out about it now. Balthazar, you're in New York? I didn't know you're in New York. Yeah, I didn't know you're in New York. UK is not an ally. Well, UK is an ally. It depends on what you mean by ally. I mean, after all, UK might have been the one where they got the files from. Imagine that shit. I had a roach crawl onto my face when I lived in the Bronx. Oh, Biloxi. Biloxi? That's gross. That's profoundly gross. When I was in, oh, jeez, my head hurts. When I was in Nepal, I hadn't eaten in like weeks because my health wasn't at the best at this point. And I finally say, I got to eat something. Like this is getting ridiculous. It's been a while. I can't keep this trip up if I can't get food down. And so I said, I'm going to find one of the best restaurants I can find, and I'm just going to go fucking bananas. I'm going to get whatever I want on the menu. I'm going to eat it, whatever I want. I'm going to do it up. And I find this steakhouse, and I go to the steakhouse in Nepal, and I sit down, hungry, haven't eaten in weeks, and a rat climbs through the window of the second floor. It is the largest rat I've ever seen in my life. It looks like a small dog. And it climbs through, and I'm like, oh my god, that's fucking gross. And shit, I haven't eaten in 2 weeks. And fuck. It was so gross. The thing was massive. And the rat climbs through, comes into the restaurant, and goes into the kitchen. And I tell the guy, I said, dude, there's a rat over there. It's large. And he says, I know, we're trying to kill it. And you can hear it in the back, them like slamming dishes. And in my head, I had this thing where they had a dish and they're trying to beat the shit out the rat in order to kill the rat. And I'm like, fuck. Fuck. Give me the steak and the shrimp. Give me the steak and the shrimp. Let's go with it. Let's go with it. Give me the steak and the shrimp. Yeah, that was gross. It was gross. It was utterly gross. There was a few gross things in Nepal, though. Like, they used to hawk up spit. Like, they were like, he's like, oh! I'm a Virgo. I'm a Virgo's Virgo. I'm a double Virgo. For anybody who knows astrology, I'm a double Virgo. Now, Virgo ascendant, Virgo sun. I was born 6:05 a.m. August 31st. Literally at sunset. Sunset on the dot. I am a Virgo's Virgo. And there's some things that rub me like nobody's business that I can't get over. Like, I can't get through. And the spitting thing was the thing. I could not get past that. It was the grossest thing I've ever heard in my life. And there was one day I'm walking to my hotel. Like, it's not paved at all. It's just gravel. I'm walking back to my hotel. Or walking away from the hotel. And I hear... but sounds like a trucker. Like, sounds like a 400-pound trucker hawking up a loogie. And I'm so disgusted by this that I need to look back to see the object of my disgust, because I want to put a face on the level of disgust that I am at. And it is a woman that's like 70 pounds just doing it up. And I'm like, oh, God. It's brutal. It was brutal. It was utterly brutal. It was utterly brutal. There was another one where, like, looking for food again and trying to get a sandwich. And at the restaurant, the chef is hawking up a loogie. And again, you're like, oh, dude. That's okay. I'll go to the next one. But at that point, your appetite is ruined. It was so gross. It was just weird. It's just really bizarre. It was rubbing against my sensibilities. It was utterly rubbing against my... Yeah, right. Stephanie. Slowly sliding my snacks away from my desk. It was the weirdest thing in Nepal. Like I didn't have like from what they told me, they said because of the they had a lot of pollution. And because of the level of pollution that was in Kathmandu, it had like lung stuff. And so this was something that was more common because of the level of pollution that was there. Common or not, that shit was gross. That shit was utterly gross. Yeah, that stuff was gross. Microsoft Word technical support. Has he had a couple? Yeah, a couple. I've had three. I've had three mojitos. We're sitting there just talking, just shooting the shit in one of the bars. But I said I was going to do the video talking about the analysis of the thing. So I'm here doing the video with analysis of stuff. Once ordered NBS, someone else rejected their order, turned around and brought it directly to my table. Mojitos. Yeah, I like mojitos. Kelly and Jamal went out drinking tonight after the panel. Yeah, pretty much. Well, it wasn't just me and her. It ended up being me and her after the panel, but it was a few of us. It was a lot of us. It was a lot of us. Kelly! I've made it back to the hotel safely. Another time I ordered a burger, and there is no fucking way it was beef, unlike any other meat I've ever had. That's hilarious. They always told me when I was in India, they said, don't eat the meat in India. And it's like, why not? It was like, how do you know it's actually meat? Or how do you know what meat it is? It's like the mystery meat. It's like, oh God. Talk about gutting your appetite. I have to say the best avatar name ever is Microsoft Word Technical Support. That is an awesome name. That is an awesome name. You went to India? Yeah, I went to India. I went to India because... So here's the thing. When I was in Nepal, I was trying to get into India. Because India was, there was another trip after India. I ended up being in Nepal for like 3 weeks. Because it takes like a week for the visa to come through. And there was a fuck up with the visa, which meant I had to be longer. Now, the guy who was there, the Nepali, was nice. And he said, look, I'm going to write you this particular visa. Technically, don't leave New Delhi. Wink, wink. Don't leave New Delhi. That was kind of the way it went. But I had no intention of leaving New Delhi, so it was fine. I meet a woman on the airplane named Julia. Now, Julia was an 18-year-old white woman. Small as can be. She was tiny. And she said, I don't like people telling me that I couldn't do it. That, I couldn't travel by myself. I hated people telling me that. And so I went traveling by myself. By the time when we landed, that's when I met her. And I bought her cab, and her and I were talking. I was like, where are you going? And she's like, well, I don't have an apartment, a hotel yet. And so I bought her a hotel. And so we end up kind of traveling together. What I found was you have two types of people who go to India. I know when people say that, they're always off. But in this case, I'm right. Two types. Hippies and non-hippies. The hippies are, you would see these people who are totally, say, fuck cultural appropriation. I'm just going all in. And it would be these white women with dreads, hair under their arms, leg hair, and just like, fuck it, I'm a hippie, and they're just all in. God bless them. You would have men, same thing. And there was one guy, and one woman, there was a couple, and they was like, the guy says, you've been here 3 times? She says, yeah, this is my 4th time. And she's like, all in. Then you have other people who I've met, who are like Brits, who are straight-laced, and he was like, that place is fucking horrible. I would never want it. It's like there is a 10th degree of hell, and that place is called India. Like, that's where they are. And I was like, well, I'm not really a hippie, but I'm not really straight-laced. I'll make my own decision on this. I didn't necessarily know what to think, so I went. I could not stand that fucking place. If I'm being honest, 10th degree of hell, and that place is named India. That's where I was. It was rubbing up against my sensibilities in a way, not the spitting, everything else. It was grating on, like, it's hard to explain, man. It's most of the time I can ignore a lot of that stuff. And even with the spitting and everything else, you just deal. You're in a different country, you just deal. Yes, it ruined my appetite, but so what? I can lose a few pounds. Getting to India was different. It's hot, so it's like 100 something degrees. There's trash rotting in the streets, and you're grossed out. There's like cows and cars and everything else sharing the same road, and mosquitoes, vicious, deadly, angry, ornery mosquitoes, and you have to you're bathing yourself in this mosquito repellent because otherwise they're going to eat you alive and you're going to get malaria and Ebola, and you're going to have a horrible trip with the malaria and Ebola. Fortunately, I ended up getting mosquito repellent prior, and it was awesome mosquito repellent. It was like top of the line. So I didn't necessarily get eaten most of the time. There was 1 or 2 times where I forgot it, and I paid for it in that tuk-tuk on the way back from the movie theater at 10 o'clock at night, where those mosquitoes had their way with me and I couldn't do anything about it. I thought I had disease. But most of the time, mosquitoes, repellent, must take repellent. Trash rotting in the streets, that's disgusting. It is what it is. It was during the monsoons, so it would rain. And then, after 10 minutes of rain, it would be 100 degrees again. And the trash would be baking in the streets again. Julia loved this for some reason. I don't know why she loved this. She thought this was awesome. This was grating against my sensibilities like nothing else that I've ever experienced. Now, the thing is, my hotel wasn't a horrible hotel, but they gave me a hotel where the bathroom had been inundated with bugs. All of these different bugs of all different types that many of which I've never seen before, had taken refuge and had taken authority of the bathroom. It was theirs. It was unchallenged. I said, fuck it, you can have it. I'm not going to fight this battle. I told the people at the bottom, and they just came up and kind of just barricaded the door shut, essentially almost as if they were agreeing with me, saying, yes, they own it. It's theirs. They've occupied your bathroom, and there's nothing you can do about it. At a certain point, I'm feeling miserable. I'm like, all right, this sucks. I don't have a bathroom. And the shower that I have is essentially just a faucet where water just kind of runs down. It's not even a faucet, it's just like a single thing. It was the first hotel that we got. Ashiana, I think that was the name of it. And I was like, alright, fuck this. I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't live this way. I need a better living situation. There's roughing it, and there's roughing it, and there's this. And I know when I say that that's contextual and that's perspective, but that's where I was. So I go to another hotel where the guy, the doorman, there's a guy at the door with a turban and a mustache. And I don't mean this as a pejorative. I'm saying this just as actual reality of what it was. There was a guy with a turban and a mustache, and he's standing there, kind of like, just being a badass. And I go in, and I talk to the guy at the desk, and the guy at the desk is being an asshole to me. He's being a bit of a dick. And he's being pompous. Now, my cab driver is getting on my nerves. My cab driver says, where are you from? I said, America. He said, that's a good country. And I said, it's okay, it's not bad. And I said, there's nothing wrong with India, per se. Now, then he proceeds to be an asshole. He says, would you like to, he says, which hotel are you going to? And I tell him which hotel. He says, why are you going to that expensive hotel? Well, A, I'm feeling miserable. I haven't eaten in weeks. I'm having nosebleeds. I can't keep anything down. If I'm going to be somewhere, I want to be comfortable wherever I am because I already feel miserable. And I didn't tell him all that, but that was essentially the context of this. And I just say, that's the hotel I want. And he says, are you sure? I can take you to a better hotel. I mean, I have a better hotel that I could take you to. No, that's okay. No, really, man, I can take you to a better hotel. And at this point, I'm getting annoyed. Because I'm telling you what I want to do, and you're trying to countermand what I'm trying to say. And I'm like, dude, no, take me to my hotel. He says, okay. He takes me to a hotel, and it's not my hotel. It is a hotel that he's trying to take me to because he wants a kickback from that very specific hotel. Meaning the cabbies would make a deal with the hotels that they would get a kickback if they take people to the hotel. It's their way of trying to get business to the hotel itself. So the cabbie is trying to sell me on this other hotel. And at this point, I'm fuming. I am like apoplectic. I feel miserable, and this cabbie is not taking me to my goddamn hotel. And I lean in, I'm like, it's a tuk-tuk. I'm like, are you going to take me to my hotel or not? What are you doing? Are you going to take me to my hotel or not? He says, fine, fine, fine. He takes me to the hotel, and then when we go into the hotel, he follows me in. He follows me in. And he tells the hotel, I brought him here. I'm the guy that brought him to this hotel, and he wants to get a kickback from bringing me to the hotel. Now, the guy was being an asshole to me, the hotel guy. But the moment that I say, yes, I would like to purchase a room, that guy becomes my best friend. And not just my best friend, my best advocate. And the guy with the turban who was standing there comes and grabs the cabbie and escorts the cabbie out of the building and stands there mean mugging the cabbie, just staring at him in this kind of intense way until the cabbie stays there for like four minutes and gets the hint and gets in his cab and tuk-tuk and goes away. That guy who was a dick to me became my best friend and everything. It's the weirdest thing. That was a guy, another tuk-tuk. I only did the motorized tuk-tuks. I felt weird getting into the other tuk-tuks where there's a guy like pedaling, because I felt like an asshole sitting there while this guy pedaled. I feel bad while this guy exerting himself while I'm just sitting there being a lazy asshole. But in this case, there were no other cabs. There were no other tuk-tuks. I didn't want to walk because it was disgusting. And so I said, fine, fuck it. And to be fair, I even looked at it as, to some degree, this guy is doing a job, and it's his job. Like, he's paying himself to some degree. It would make life for kids, so fuck it. So I got in this tuk-tuk, and right off the bat, I'm somewhat shamed by this experience, because the guy looks like he's in his 70s, and he's getting on the thing, he's pedaling away. And he's like, where are you going? McDonald's. I want to go to McDonald's. Yes, I want to go to McDonald's. And he says, okay. He's pedaling away, he's pedaling away, he's pedaling away. And he does this thing where he can't find the McDonald's. And because he can't find the McDonald's, he pedals me back to somewhere else. And he says, alright, we're here. And it's like, dude, you just pedaled me back to where we started. What are you doing? And he doesn't speak English, so me saying this in no way helps the situation. The guy who was a dick to me at the hotel comes out, and again, he's my advocate now because I'm giving him money and I have a room at the hotel, so he's helping me out. And he talks to the guy, and he gives the guy like $5 and sends the guy on his way. And not $5, like half of whatever we were going to pay. Like essentially whatever half. I said, look, I'll give you half because you didn't take me to where I was trying to go. In fact, you just brought me back to where I went, where I started. I recognize that you exerted yourself. But fuck that. I'm going to give you the money as if you went to the same place. So the guy says, the guy comes out, and he speaks to the guy in his language, and he gives him half, and he sends him on his way. And the guy's kind of looking like, what the fuck just happened? And he says, come on, let's go. This deal is done. It's done. It's over with. Is what it is. He became an advocate. There was another time in India when I'm walking by, and I hear an anti-American protest. I was like, oh shit. Let's not be here. Let's not be here. Let's not be here. Edward Klein, I wouldn't pay him shit for driving me in a circle. But he exerted himself. I felt bad. He exerted himself. I already felt like an asshole. So, I mean, fuck, man. That sounds insane. Who would want to travel there just to end up killing the cab? I didn't kill the cab driver. Herbie, India, yeah. I didn't like India, man. I didn't like India. I did not like that country. Some people love it, so don't misunderstand me. This is purely perspective. This is purely my perspective. There's some people who absolutely love it. No issue with it at all. I don't like bugs. And I don't like mosquitoes that seems to want to take advantage of me and have their way with me. Vincent Lloyd. So when are you going back? Here, you know, there is one thing. I want to see the Taj Mahal. I want to see the Lotus Temple. Lotus Temple it's a religious monument, but it's almost like in a spirituality era, as opposed to like a heavy religious era. Beautiful. Like, fucking beautiful. I wonder if I have any pictures of that. Like, it was absolutely gorgeous. Here we go. Yeah, absolutely gorgeous. So this is not my picture of it. This is just a picture of it, so you can have an idea of what I'm talking about. Shit. Bastard. Okay. I probably can't show that. My video, damn. You guys have to look it up. My system is not the same at the thing. But gorgeous. Absolutely, utterly, incomprehensibly gorgeous. The moment that you walk out, trash is on the streets. Trash is on the streets. Now, that being said, I try to get into a cab because I'm trying to go into the movies. I'm trying to go to movies. And the cabbie asked me for something. He wants me to go to a store. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to go to the store. What are you talking about? I just want to go to the movies. What the fuck are you talking about? And he says, okay. And he takes me to the store anyway. And he's like, would you like to go in? I'm like, no. He's like, I mean, you don't want to go in just for a moment? No. And at this point, I am heated. Like it's, I'm okay in foreign countries. Usually, calm demeanor, everything else. But when you don't feel well, when it's like 110 degrees outside, it's like grates on you. It's like your nerves, like frayed. And I'm seething. And I'm like, are you going to take me there or not? Like, you get into this mindset of, do I have to walk? Like do I need to get out your car? He says, no, that's okay. He takes me back to where I started, and I was like, yeah, fine, I'll find somewhere else. Well, like, India was interesting. I get to the point where I realize I book a ticket to Bangkok because I'm still trying to get to Japan. Now, keep in mind, I am in really bad shape. I am really bad health at this point. And I kept telling myself, don't be a pussy. Don't be a pussy. Just keep going. Don't be a pussy. Don't keep going. Because I realized that the moment that I decided to go back home, it's reality. All of this stuff, yes, what's taking place is reality. But it becomes a different level of reality the moment that I get back home. Because I have to deal with the medical stuff that's taking place now that I'm completely ignoring. And I wake up one morning, I think after a nap or something. Oh, fuck! Here's another thing. So, I get a lot of coins and stuff from other countries that I'm traveling in. And oftentimes, they only add up to like $1 or $2. Like, it's not much. It's just coins. And the guy who comes in to deliver, they have room delivery, he sees the coins, and he gives something. He gives the delivery or something. And he's like, over that. He's pointing to the coins. He's pointing to the coins. He wants the coins. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then he comes back in, and he's asking for a tip. It's like, okay. But he gets to the point where he becomes boisterous. Like, and maybe my interpretation of this is wrong, so fair enough, and if it is, I'm sorry. But I feel like, I get to the point where it feels like he's being boisterous. Like, in this thing of, like, being over the top and almost slightly threatening, and coming across asking for a tip. Tip. And because he sees the coins, and because he gets that, it's like he gets in his head of, because I allowed it, that he can push it, if that makes sense. Which he comes back in at another time where I ask for soda, and I'm like, I'm hoping it's him. I'm hoping it's him. And it's him. And he comes in, and he's pushing for a tip again. And I get up and I lock the door. And I'm like, didn't I just give you a tip? And I'm standing over him like, I just gave you a tip. Why are you continuously asking for tips? Now, I'm being an asshole here, but I'm being an asshole here because I think from the standpoint of, if this is a grandmother, if this is some kid, or, young person, this guy is essentially pushing himself to extract something from somebody in this weird, slightly threatening way. And I wanted to not have that be the case. And I freaked him out. He never did this shit again. And even helped me take my bags out when I left. It is what it is. It is what it is. But India is one of those things, you either love it or you hate. I don't necessarily know if I haven't heard people lukewarm about it. People perfectly fine. People perfectly fine. The women, gorgeous. The women are absolutely gorgeous. Some are. I mean, it depends on the person. It's odd. They're almost indistinguishable from African American women in the country. Some, like there's a overlay where how they, especially when they get a full glam, they look like sisters. They look like African American. It's awesome. But no, otherwise it was awesome. Edward Klein, you should have stone cold stunned him. No, I'm not stone cold stunning. I don't want to end up in an Indian prison. That's the last place I want to be. No, I if I'm being honest, I threatened him. But I threatened him without necessarily saying anything, but this kind of thing of, why are you pushing so hard for tips in this way when I'm giving you tips for all of this stuff, more than you would ever get in any normal circumstance? And I'm hanging over him as I say this because he's shorter than I am. Just like, why are you doing this? I just gave you this. And at that point, he's like, okay. Fair enough. This fucking battling American. Hare Krishna much, Jamal. What is that? Hare Krishna much. Jim Garrison. Jamal, what's with the tongue ring? Complications of tongue piercings have included blood-borne infections causing brain and heart abscesses, hepatitis B and C, HIV, tuberculosis, and tinnitus. Clyde illusions. Yeah, pessimism is not a reality. It's not a survival trait. At least I don't think it is. What's the point in making an assumption that the worst case scenario is going to happen when you go about your affairs? Nothing takes place. How can you travel if you believe you're going to get hit by a bus when you go to the place? That's, for all intents and purposes, the same thing. I've had this tongue ring for years. I just never got rid of it. No. Kelly wants you to check your Twitter feed. It's further up the chat. What's on my Twitter feed? Oh, she's live. She's doing a Zoom video. That's funny. Let's see. Did she say something? Right here. Check Twitter messages. You only gave me one, Kelly. I saw one for Zoom. I assume you're on. More like, hey, foreigner, stop grifting me, right? Stop. Did you see the thing from, I think it was Bangkok, where they're saying Westerners, they're passing laws because Westerners have been coming to the country and have been grifting, trying to get money because they've ran out of money and haven't had enough money to get back home. And so people they've been like panhandling for money. It's the funniest shit ever. Bro, I can't do both at the same time. Edward Morley. I am from Richmond. I'm from Richmond, but we're in New York right now. Apparently we're in New York. Terry Robinson. Damn, no notification again. To be honest, Terry, at this point, we're just talking about my travel experiences in India. And Brom, I gotta be honest, I'm getting a headache. My eyes are getting heavy. Jamal, you don't like Ratatouille? I've never seen Ratatouille. Oh, are you talking about the actual? No, the food? No, fuck no. I don't like eating rat. You don't like Ratatouille. My sister is hardcore trying to guilt me into visiting her in Japan. You should go! Why are you mean guilting her right now? Like I don't want to. It's just a plane ticket. Oh yeah, it's over $1,000 to get to Japan. My wife and I, we're going to travel indefinitely. Just go. Ultimately, I'm doing the channel. She is doing medical coding. Both of us are doing this remotely. Anywhere we go, we're going to have video and stuff like that so I can do my feeds. And she's going to need great Wi-Fi. We are living, right now, we don't want to get another lease because we don't want the 12 months because we're not going to be here for 12 months. And so we're living with my mom. My mom's upstairs thing. That allows us to save money in addition to, not having a lease for 12 months. We realize that we're going to get hit with a main cost. Like the ticket price that you're talking about, we're going to get hit with that either going or coming. The catch is, do you get hit with it making the first trip to somewhere like Australia, or do you get hit with it taking the first trip to somewhere like London? Now, what I mean by that is if you go through London and you go around the globe and everything else, by the time you leave, when you hit Australia, you're making the trip, so you get taking a hit at the end. If you say, well, I want to go through the Australia route first, like Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Hong Kong, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, like that, then you take the hit first. We're not sure which one we want to take because we're not sure which one is cheapest. We're considering Africa. Africa wasn't on the list before because we're racist. Yeah, we're utterly racist. We're in this country, and this country considers Africa to be, everybody's dirt poor or in some kind of war zone. But we decided to consider Africa to somewhere like Kenya. South Africa is going through some kind of water crisis, so that's off the table. Kenya, Morocco, but again, that's taking somewhat of a hit, but that's going around like Kenya, Morocco, London, going through Europe, ending in Southeast Asia, coming back through Australia. You should go. You should go, hands down. There's certainly parts of Japan I won't visit now due to... Oh, Fukushima. That's a good point, Garden. That's a good point. I keep hearing good things about Bali, too, yeah. And the pictures there, the temples are like, what the hell? Like something out of a storybook. Yeah, they're gorgeous. Yeah, absolutely gorgeous. Orthidium, Jamal, visit Senegal. It's a truly beautiful place. I've heard Senegal was gorgeous. Kenya, believe it. Can you believe it, Balthazar? Oh, living in Korea. How terrible was the air in India? I left Korea because it was terrible there, and I didn't go to India because the combo of bad air, garbage, and annoyance of heat. So I didn't think the air was bad, if that makes sense. The garbage was the bad part. So it was odd. In Nepal, when you got to the point of fuck, man, I wish I could show my pics on this. I don't necessarily know if this is flipping over correctly. Let's see this. Alright, that's not working. Oh, I know what's going on. Give me 1 second. Alright, so yes. Good. Alright. So I'm going to show some of the pics from Nepal. At this point, we're just talking, so it doesn't matter. Alright, albums. Collages, videos, things, places, people. So this was Kathmandu. Kathmandu is interesting because it puts you in the mind of like those old like story books or videos of this stuff. But this was a feel for the city. You had tuk-tuks, you had bikes. These were tuk-tuks, the 3-wheel vehicles. Most of the places getting around, it was either tuk-tuks or these taxis. Now, the thing was, you had so many taxis and stuff flying through, and you had all of these little vehicles. The state in Nepal subsidized oil, and so oil was dirt cheap in Nepal because it was being subsidized by the state. So you had a lot of proliferation of these vehicles, and anywhere you needed to go from point A to point B, you take a taxi or a cab. It was cheap enough where you could do it. These were the temples. There's one specific one that I'm looking for that was awesome, but this was the fuck fest. This right here. There's a bull in the middle of the temple. Now I was there watching this, and I was like, why is that there? I couldn't understand whose bull it was, if it was anybody's bull, and maybe it wasn't anybody's bull. Maybe there was a free bull. Maybe the bull said, fuck this, I'm not nobody's bull, I'm my own person or my own bull, and I won't necessarily be, you know. But if you notice in this picture, that bull has like a force field around it because nobody is anywhere near it. Everybody's like backed away from that bull like, whoa. But I suspect if this was in America, nobody would even be this close. Like, they're going about their affairs like, oh well. Oh well. The traffic in Nepal was abysmal. This is Monkey Temple. The monkeys are honorary, so you don't necessarily mess with the monkeys. Leave them to their devices. These are some of the temples that were there. Some of the weirdest things is that the temples and the architecture in multiple places across the globe ended up being the same. Like this kind of pyramid structure that you find in multiple places. South America, including Southeast Asia. It's weird. This kid, so I was being a complete dick to that kid. I don't like kids. Their hands are always sticky, and you know, the hands being always sticky, the nose always has something on it. It's always kind of gross. So kids, they typically bug me. If I can't talk to them like an adult, I don't necessarily want to talk to them. That means if I can't curse with them and all this other good stuff, I assume that they're cursing anyway. So the idea that we're putting on airs as if this shit isn't happening, why bother? I know you're going to school and I know you're dropping F-bombs, so let's just get rid of the, you know, the thing. Let's just be adults. I was being somewhat of a dick to that kid. I didn't want to be bothered, and he kept following me around when we were walking. It was in Bhaktapur. Bhaktapur is one of the kingdoms in Nepal. Nepal had 3 kingdoms. In those 3 kingdoms, Bhaktapur was one, Kathmandu was one, and there was another one, Pokhara. When I jumped into Nepal during political crisis. The king of Nepal had looted the country. Not just looted the country, had killed his brother. And because at that point he became king when he killed his brother, he turns around and says, somebody has murdered my brother. Somebody has murdered my brother. What the fuck? Well, I guess I'm king now. And we're going to figure out who's murdered my brother. When everybody in the kingdom was like, motherfucker, we know you murdered your brother. Everybody knew it. But because he was king, you couldn't do anything about it. Who's going to tell the king that you've murdered your brother? So he ends up looting the kingdom, like essentially like robbing the kingdom blind. And Parliament gets to the point of saying, enough. Enough. And they gave him his marching papers. And they said, we're done with this. You're going to abdicate the throne. Now, the catch is, when I jumped in, nobody knew whether or not he was going to abdicate the throne. Nobody knew whether or not he was going to invoke the military. Nobody knew what he was going to do. Nobody knew if he was going to fight it. Nobody knew if he was going to just leave. And all the way up until the last day, where he finally just left. Anticlimactic. The newspapers buzzing. The people in Nepal buzzing. What is he going to do? What is the king going to do? What is the king going to do? He ends up just leaving. It's fascinating. Political intrigue in Nepal. But this particular kid, he was annoying the shit out of me. But he wouldn't leave. And me being a dick to him would not make him leave. He still was like, well, I'll just follow you. It's like, no, that's the opposite of what I want you to do. Because he's like, hey, do you need a guide? Do you need a guide? No, I don't need a guide. Are you sure? You don't need somebody to take you around? Dude, I don't need a guide to take me around. I'm just going to watch. Okay, well, I just walk with you. I just follow you. I'm like, fuck. No, dude, I don't need you to do that. No, it's okay. I just follow you. And at this point, at some point, something in me changes, and I'm like, stop being a dick to the kid. And I talk to him. And I was like, fine, show me around. And he walks me around, shows me around Bhaktapur. That kid was fucking awesome. The kid was awesome. I was sad for being a dick to the kid because him and I got along amazingly well. Bright as can be. Speaks English extraordinarily well. There's certain words that he doesn't speak well because he doesn't, the teacher who's teaching him English is from a foreign country, not from America or from Britain. That kid was awesome. That kid was awesome. Yeah. Let's see, what else do we have? I'll see if I have any other interesting pictures in this case. That must be the last picture. And yeah, same. Yeah, I've been to a few places. I have odd, interesting, bizarre stories in most of them. The last day where I woke up, I kept telling myself, don't be a pussy, don't be a pussy, don't be a pussy. Keep going, just keep going. Now the thing is, as long as I kept moving, I keep moving, if that makes sense. It's like the moment that you stop and take inventory, that's when it all hits you. It's like that's when all of the monsters come and all of them rip their pound of flesh. I wake up one morning and I've had enough. It's too much. I've had enough. I've been going for weeks, feeling miserable, like not being able to eat, not being able to keep anything down, throwing up anytime I take anything in. And even though I booked the ticket to Bangkok, I realize in this kind of moment of clarity, if you don't have the capacity to go to Taj Mahal when you're like 2 hours away, why are you going to Japan? And if you're this bad off, why are you going to Japan? You can't have sushi. I don't even think sumo wrestling is during the time. How are you going to enjoy this trip if you can't even get to Taj Mahal? I called my mom and I said, I'm coming home. And she's like, you feel bad? I say, I feel horrible. Yes, I do. And she's like, all right, well, bring it on. And I've been away for 2 months at this point, pushing back this thing of going home. And on the day I decide to go home, that fucking flight doesn't show up. The flight doesn't come. I paid $2,000 for a ticket because they don't have a regular ticket in the regular class, and I booked first class seats. And the goddamn flight doesn't come. Goddamn flight doesn't come. I had to stay one extra night. They put me up in this hotel that was a 5-star hotel. You could drink all of the water, and all of it's potable. If you wanted to drink toilet water, it's potable. In order for them to do that, that means they're draining water away from other sources in India that is already somewhat water deficient. You have people selling bags of water in actual plastic bags. You have babies completely naked running through the streets. Some of this is a way to try to entice human beings to feel some kind of way, in this kind of empathetic way, in order to pull money from people that they're being more inclined to give. Some of these things are rackets that they use to do this. Either way, it tugs at your heartstrings. At some point, you just ignore it. It sounds weird, but you just ignore it. Traveling sucks without emergency funds. Yes, it does. Like, you never travel without an emergency fund. Like, even my wife and I, it's like we have this, you lock money in a box that says if shit happens, break glass in case of an emergency. So yeah. Traveling sucks if you're not carrying Valium. Here's the thing. I was in Cairo. I was in Egypt. And I had bought this stuff, and I realized I don't want to take this stuff around where I'm going. It was, Egypt wasn't my last stop. I was traveling overland through Israel into Israel, Jordan, Nepal, that type of stuff. And Cape Town, South Africa, have they ran out of water yet? I don't know, but That was the last that I've heard that they were talking about running out of water. I'm talking about the value. I'm in Cairo. I get a cab driver that's set up by my hotel. And this guy, I could not stand this guy. I could have choked the shit out of this guy on more than one occasion. He was annoying as all hell. Now, here's the catch. He tries to come through for me, in which case I'm like, well, maybe this guy's not as bad as I thought. Maybe he's not that bad. Because we get to the post office, because I have a bunch of stuff, and he takes me to 2 post offices. And we get to the post office, and I want to send this stuff because I don't want to tote the stuff around. And it's like 5 o'clock or something. And we're in Egypt, we're in Cairo, and the bells start to ring, which means it's time for prayer. It takes like 5 times a day. And they're about to close. And these guys pull out their prayer rugs, and I am about to flip. I am apoplectic is an understatement. When you're talking about a volume, I've been toting this shit around all day. And again, man, it is like 110 degrees out. Like, not bullshitting. Like 100 and something degrees out. It's in Cairo in the middle of summer. I am blisteringly hot. It's like hot to the degree that I didn't even know was possible hot. And this cab driver is aggravating me like nobody's business, in addition to the heat. Now, this is not an excuse for me being a dick, and I wasn't being a dick to anybody. I was just angry. Now, this anger wasn't expressed, so it was just purely internal, but it was there nonetheless, and it was just like, oh my God, no. These guys are not going to get down to pray. It's like they're about to close and they're about to pray, and I'm like, no! I have all this. Are you fucking kidding me? You're about to close? There's somebody else in line. Are you telling me that Allah doesn't know that you have a goddamn job to do? That you actually need to make this prayer? Man, you talking about having some feelings. My cab driver lobbies on my behalf, and we get the stuff shipped. They wait, they hold off, and they get it shipped. And I give them the money that I'm supposed to give them and all that good stuff. The world is good. And I think to myself, maybe I got this guy wrong. Like, fuck, man. I'm thinking this guy's, fucking aggravating. He came through. Maybe this guy came through. I mean, and what I mean by came through, whatever he said from the standpoint of, like, hey, guys, can you get this last thing? Whatever it was. They do it. He's just talking to him. But I don't think he's saying anything outlandish. I think he's just saying, hey, can you get this, just could you get this for my patron or my guy? So they do it. And I sent this stuff by ship, by boat. We get out to the car. I'm having good feelings for him. And he says, I told those guys that you were going to make sure that you were going to hook me up to make sure that we're good. And I slipped them an extra 40 Egyptian pounds under the knowing that you were going to give me that money back. And all of the good feelings that I've had for that guy drained out of me. And it, bam, just gone. It's an instant. The speed at which they say nothing is faster than the speed of light. Einstein doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. I drained out of me the thing that was in me that says maybe this guy isn't that bad. In a fraction of the speed of light. Gone. And I'm like, you shouldn't have told him that. Because, and the reason why I'm saying this is because I'm thinking this guy's full of shit. He didn't pass those guys any money. This is nonsense. I paid for the bill. He said whatever he had to say. No money changed hands. He's trying to be a crook. He's trying to get over. And we're arguing about this in the car. And at some point I'm like, he stops for something. I'm like, fuck this, I'm done. I get out the car. I leave. I'm like, I'll walk back. I don't want to deal with this. This guy's a fucking maniac. And it's like, there are certain situations that are aggravating when you're traveling. You try to minimize the aggravation in those moments. It depends on where you are. And it depends on the situations that you find yourself. Sometimes you have environmental factors that are digging in you. And in digging in, you acknowledge I'm in another country. I know they're going to be fuck-ups. I know they're going to be things that are going to bug the shit out of me. And even knowing all of that, there are environmental factors that dig in you, man. They dig in you. Wow, I walked into something interesting. John Smith, yes, you did. I hate stratification, sounding a lot better. Thank you, Jamal. Michael Parks. Staycation. Oh, staycations. That's funny. Staycations. This is what I needed to be okay with not traveling for a few more months. Yeah, do what you gotta do, man. This sounds far too stressful to be a vacation. No, it's not. I was in Egypt for 3 weeks. That's just one day. In fact, that's just 6 hours. Like, imagine the entirety of the trip, though. Like, it's a learning curve. You're jumping into a country as an American. Many of the things that you're dealing with, you're bartering. So it's not like just straight, this is $2, I get my $2 back. It's American? Fuck, yeah. $10. It's just water, man. You're saying $10 for water? Yes. Dude, I'm not giving you $10 for water. $2. $5. $2, I give you $2. Okay, $4. Fuck it, I'm done. Okay, I'll take the $2. Why didn't you just take the $2 in the first place? It's like, and that's with like everything. Like, you're stuck in this perpetual situation of bartering over and over and over again. It's just aggravating. And it makes you into an asshole. I'll give you another example. I'm in a car. The guy takes me to, at this point, I've been in Egypt for like maybe 2 weeks. And the bartering thing has become ingrained. Like, I understand it. When I get into a cab, you negotiate the price before you get into a cab. Me traveling to Egypt allowed me to travel in any other country knowledgeably and safely, because all of the stuff I needed to learn, I learned there, if that makes sense. Like, whether it was India, Nepal, all those countries, all of the rules, for the most part, that you've learned in Egypt applied to pretty much every other state or every other nation, at least that I've seen up to this point. We get into the car. He's taking me to Pizza Hut. Because, again, there are some days where I just wanted something American. I've been traveling for a while. I've been out of the country for a while. And I'm craving something from back home. And we get to the Pizza Hut. And I get my pizza. We're on the way back home. And he says, it's supposed to be like 10 Egyptian pounds or something like that. And he says, like, 15. I'm not giving you 15 Egyptian pounds. No, 15 Egyptian pounds. We agreed upon 10. I'm not giving you 15 fucking Egyptian pounds. No, 15. He's like, 50. He's being insistent. And at this point, I'm getting out of the car. No, here's your money. You said 10 Egyptian pounds. Fucking give you extra money. And I get into the hotel, and it dawns on me that he's asking for $1 extra. He's asking for $1 extra. And you talk about feeling miserable. You talk about feeling miserable. I felt obscenely miserable after that, because I realized that the society itself had somewhat dictated and affected my behavior in a way that it wouldn't have necessarily affected my behavior in a different context. He's asking for $1. He's asking for $1. But because of the competitiveness at that point, because at this point it had nothing to do with the money, it had everything to do with our agreement, that we're just, I felt like an asshole. I felt like a complete and utter asshole. So, yeah. Vacation has been in my brain as well. Much needed, most definitely. Yeah, we're excited. Jamal sounds like he's a total dick to everybody. I am not. Believe it or not, the first case that took place was only internal. I never say anything out the way. I was just kind of like, oh my fucking god, this is horrendous. The other case, the guy wouldn't take me to my place. Like, what are you to do? You get into a cab or you get into a tuk-tuk. You tell the guy exactly where you want to go in the tuk-tuk. The guy takes you to a location that is not the location that you told him to take you to, because he's going to get a kickback. What is the response? What is the response? Are you joy and light in that situation? Or are you like, could you please take me to my place, or do I have to just leave and walk? So yeah. I'd support a Jamal dictatorship. That's hilarious. Hello, George. Jamal's a monster. Not a monster. Not a monster. Long live Dictator Thomas. Oh, it's fucked up. That being said, we'd have a better world. We'd have a better world. And I'd hand it off to somebody who could... Yeah, I'd be an awesome dictator. I'd be a benevolent dictator. I would. My subjects would love me. You guys would worship and love me. I would... Yeah, I would be worshipped and loved. And they would... When I passed, eventually, there would be mourning. And Kim Jong-un... Have you seen the thing where the guy's dad died? And it's one of the funniest scenes ever. It's not supposed to be funny, but the newsman is outside, like he's like flipping out. Like he's like full on, unabashed, losing it. And my wife and I were sitting there laughing. We shouldn't have been laughing at this because I know it's contextual, but the degree to which he was flipping out over this guy's death was monumental. But that's how they saw him. They saw him in those terms. Now, I wouldn't be insane as a dictator. But I would be a benevolent dictator. I would be awesome. I'd be awesome. Cash, to some degree, will be abolished. Ultimately, well, no, it wouldn't. The state would be the cash. So, well, the state is still the sole source of cash now. But anything the state needed to do, the state would have just created the funds to do it. If I wanted to build a hyperloop from point A to point B, I would create the funds in order to create the hyperloop from point A to point B. The money is generated by state. The resources are clearly there, otherwise you wouldn't be able to build this hyperloop. And for the most part, the state doesn't need to beg anybody else for cash. It makes its own. I would pay down the debt using the Federal Reserve. That's assuming the cashless society. I would tell the Federal Reserve to essentially, out of your earnings, pay down the debt. And slowly but surely would essentially pay down the money that's supposed to be owed. That money doesn't necessarily hit the economy per se because you're not dropping it in, you're paying down what's essentially a number or balance. Public spending exponentially. Like hyperloops, energy grids that are somewhat underground, solar panels, like all sorts of stuff. Like a fundamental reorganization of the way the society looks, the way our... I would be loved. I would be loved. You could only hope. Jamal would be benevolent like Thanos. You know, that movie, speaking of that for the moment, Thanos is essentially the Malthusian, idea in action. He has this workable point of view that there's not enough to go around. And with this workable point of view that there's not enough to go around, he ends up murdering all these people. Thanos gets his hand on the Infinity Gauntlet. The Infinity Gauntlet is, for the most part, just representation of technology. This capacity to essentially use skill and ingenuity in order to use natural forces of the environment to do what you need to do. He had absolute control over space, matter, and time. Now, from the standpoint of technology, it's not absolute of space, matter, and time, but it is absolute enough to feed, clothe, house, to make sure that each and every person have access to all the goods and all the things that they need to live a decent life. We have it now. The issue that we have is not an issue of scarcity. The issue here is the way we organize ourselves and the way we have those resources and creating scarcity. I guess you can say from the economic system. Thanos' method to this is just to kill half of the universe as opposed to just create abundance with those fucking gloves. Well, we find ourselves in the same situation where the public, or Thanos in this case, can't think of anything better than to essentially knock off half of the public, or in our case, half of the public being in desperate poverty, or being in poverty, be it poverty wage or not having access to their needs. We are Thanos. As a collective, we are Thanos. We have this gift of technology. We have the resources. We can do it. The mentality, for the most part, does not accommodate doing it in the same way that our mentality doesn't accommodate doing it. Some people may say, well, wait a minute, that's somewhat of a plot hole. That Thanos has the capacity, he could just make those things. But you can make the same argument for us. Why is it a plot hole that we have the capacity to do those things and don't do those things? It's somewhat of a cognitive fuck-up in us, in the same way it's somewhat of a cognitive fuck-up in Thanos. In the same way that he could not comprehend using that glove to create abundance, we allow ourselves to essentially create scarcity and then to wring our hands as if this is somehow force or somehow some kind of thing of God as opposed to a thing of policy. That movie was interesting in the way it handled that. I know my wife was like, why didn't he just create abundance? But I think the point of it is, why don't we just create abundance? Same thing goes for us. That's funny. Jamal, you're not racist, American nationalist, Nazi dictator. You just don't like getting swindled when you travel. Thanks for the show. This shot of Jose Cuervo for you. Salute, salute. That's funny. No, the reason why I say we're racist, do you know my image of Africa? And I say this stuff with this idea that everything that's in us is something that's put into us. We have a workable point of view, but that workable point of view is bumping up against the reality to which we find. Our society, our world, our culture, all that stuff. It's this weird amalgam of all those things and the things that we accept and the things that we reject. I grew up with the commercials of Sally Struthers. This is telling my age. I don't know if people remember this. Sally Struthers used to be this white woman who's slightly chubby, if I remember her correctly. And maybe I'm thinking of her wrong. But she would go to Africa and she would say, we're trying to feed these starving, hungry kids. And they would show a kid of 3 Africans, runny nose, with flies all over him, and says, we're trying to help these kids. These kids are starving. Now, people often ask the question, you can't just give them a sandwich? I mean, you guys are right there. You're taking a picture of them. Did you give those people a sandwich of the people that you took a picture? At the very least, can you give them a sandwich? Because, I mean, fuck, man. Even if money was given to you, those people are still going to be hungry for the time period. Did you give them a sandwich, Sally Struthers? Over and over again, it would make these videos. And these videos, if I'm not mistaken, would run for years. And you grow up with this. You grow up with this image in your head of Africa of being this place where everybody is starving, everybody is hungry, all of these kids are flies, over. Now, intellectually, I know that this is not the entirety of Africa. That the entirety of Africa is not dwindled down into this one little spot of these kids who have flies over them, who have runny noses, and who are hungry and don't have food to eat. But it doesn't really matter whether I know that intellectually or not. For the most part, the moment that you get that image in your head, as you grow up, that image in your head to some degree dictates how you perceive that country. It's the weirdest fucking thing. It's horrendous. Because it's like, how do you get that out your fucking head? I know Kenya has some of the highest rents in the world. Literally. So it's not, these are cities. These things have, they're cities. It's like any other city. So I ignored the cognitive thing and just said, fuck it, let's go to Africa. Let's go back to our motherland. I have this image in my head that I can't shake of my wife and I being in one of those old Jeeps. Have you seen those Jeeps? Like sometimes you see like these old World War II Jeeps where it's like the windows are out, the top kind of is out, and you kind of are sitting in the Jeep and sweating profusely, shirt kind of open, just sweating like a man, just sweating. Just excessive masculinity, sweating. And Aisha is there kind of like fanning because it's so hot. It's like 130 degrees. And we stop somewhere at this little podunk shop to get something to drink. And for whatever reason, that is a fucking awesome image to me, even though I know that is a fucking horrible image, if that makes sense. Like, when I was in when I was in Panama, sweat. I've never sweat that much in my life. And you get to the point where you just say, fuck it. We're just sweating. Oh, everybody's just gonna sweat. It just is what it is. I accept you're sweating profusely if you accept me sweating profusely. And in this, we are united in our stay at Panama. And that's what you did. That's what you did all day. You just sweat. You know, getting something to drink. You're getting some, you know, coffee or something. Maybe it's not coffee. Maybe it's just soda. But you're sitting outside, just chilling in the sun. And because of the humidity, it's near the rainforest. You just sweat. I kind of had that image in my head of being in Africa the same way. Us like going on some kind of safari. It's a weird image, but it's a weird old South British image. It's so bizarre. Thank you, Silar. I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. And what is this one? Crystal Colon, throwing some money in the G-string. Enjoy another New York mojito. I've had enough. I've had 3. I usually don't drink at all because it doesn't. I don't get, you know, cognitively off. I get my stomach gets off. But we're sitting there talking. We had 2. I had 2, and that was good. I was like, well, that's not bad. It's not overly powerful, so it's not screwing with me. The word is good. And by the time I get to maybe halfway into the 3rd one, I'm like, oh, fuck. This is potent. like it's one of those things. It's like a spy that is just kind of sneaking up on you and just hits you when you're least expecting it. It was one of those type of things. So, but thank you, Crystal Colin. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Let's see. Doesn't have to be tonight. Save it for tomorrow. Yeah. Save it for tomorrow. Jamal's a talker when he drinks, which I like. Because I like when Jamal rants. I'm not ranting. We're just talking. We're just talking about all weird and interesting stuff. Jamal's more of a Zemo man. Fuck you, Bob. I know what you're trying to say. Fuck. This is for you, Bob. This is for you, Bob. This is for you, Bob. Zima. My drink used to be tequila. I used to drink tequila. I used to play chess, and we used to drink tequila when I played chess. There was a time where I went to, there's a place called, it's not Station 2, it's called, damn, I can't think of the name of it. But it was a restaurant that we used to hang out at sometimes to play chess. And the food was decent, but they had alcohol, they had drinks. And one of the guys could not believe that I was that good. This is when I played chess all the time. So my rating at the time was like almost 2,000. And my playing strength was at that rate. Like my playing strength was prodigious. And especially at Blitz. At Blitz, I was one of the best players. That was then, not now. And well, he's like, he can't believe that I'm this good. Like he just can't fathom this. And he plays me, he loses, plays me, he loses. And he starts buying me drinks. Because he wants to be able to say, I beat you. And he thinks that if he gets me liquored up enough, that he can, you know, come away with this kind of moral victory. 7 shots of tequila. And he still loses. He still can't win the game. That's how, I don't get off. Like, I get, my stomach gets off, but I don't get loopy, if that makes sense. I may be a talker. I may say shit that I wouldn't necessarily say, not overtly so, not like insane stuff. But I tend to be more open and more transparent and more, you can say casual, I guess. Yeah, I can sense that, more casual. He still loses. He still can't win the game. He still can't win. So, we get to the point where, it becomes clear that, dude, you're never going to beat me, despite how many drinks you do. I drive home, I'm lucid, drive home, and crash. Every light on is in the house. I crash. I wake up like the next day or something like that, like halfway in the day. But that was then. That's not now. I become more of a lightweight. A good Moscow Mule does me quite well. That's what Kelly had. Moscow Mule. I never heard of it. Never heard of it. But yeah, that was then. That's not now. I don't do alcohol. I smoke my liquor. If that makes sense. I would take a bong hit over a glass of tequila any day of the week and twice on Sunday. It messes with me. Like pot doesn't leave me feeling miserable. Alcohol does. So I tend to avoid it. Had to learn the hard way. Yeah. Well, I still won. Putin puppet. Oh, that's funny. Tequila, my fave. Straight, neat, or dressed, mixed with some lime or citrus, perfect for any occasion. This is going to sound strange to most people, but because I had kidney issues, which meant that I couldn't take in a lot of fluid. So me doing beers kind of, and not to mention, it kind of tastes like what I imagine hot piss to taste like. So however I needed to get a buzz, it needed to be without a huge amount of alcohol associated with it. So when we went out for drinks, tequila was the drink of choice. A shot of tequila. Me too, for sure. Yeah, one drink make slam so fast it keeps you wanting more. Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, the first drink you could barely taste the alcohol. Like it was all amazingly well made, like the mojito. And the second one, same thing. It's like, man, this is a damn good drink. The alcohol is not bothering me at all. And then by the time you get to the third one, it's like you feel like you're like, okay, my head is. I said something to Kelly, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm killing this. My head is getting loopy. Jamal, if we visited your neck of the woods, would you let us buy you a drink? Hell yeah, Tim Bradley, of course. To be Rodriguez, me too, Jamal. I miss the taste of booze, but not the hangovers. Yeah, Batman. Oh yeah, I hate that. That's a horrible feeling. Forsaken companion. I've never been much of a drinker. Same here. I drink just often enough to remember why I don't. As a rule move without me. Maybe every 2 or 3 years. Haven't been a drink in years. Just look. This is the first drink I've had in probably 2 or 3 years. Yeah. It's so few and far between. I don't like the, But my feeling is we're at a lefty forum. We've just had an awesome conversation with the people that were around us. All of us are lefties. And unabashed lefties. Like lefties where you just rip your shirt off and your muscles are rippling in the sun and there's a little bit of rain that's drizzling off and you're like, ugh! Like that level of lefty. Whatever to degree that level of lefty is, if that makes sense. I'm trying to make the sense that the awesomeness, badass power that's associated with that particular image is the degree of lefty that we were. And I understand those things are different, but within the context of the degree that I'm using, those things can be compared together. That's the level of lefty that was there. You had a full table, like 8 people, just doing it. Universal basic income. Federal jobs guaranteed. Fucking Trump and Russia collusion. Just all of it. Just all at once. Full-throated. It was awesome. Wake up, take another drink, keep it up, and you never have a hangover. Just hello jerk. Just be a sober, just be an alcoholic as opposed to ever deal with a hangover. That's hilarious. So I never drink because I just give up moving my arm to get a drink and fall asleep usually. Or just nurse this one drink, yeah. I totally get people that use booze as their vice as a way to relax. It just doesn't do it for me. Same. Adore Parai, same. Like, it doesn't, like pot for me gets me in touch with my heart center. And I know I said it before. I find that to be an admirable trait. Like 2 things. It ups my appetite, lowers blood pressure, and it gets me in touch with my heart center. Those are the 3 big things. The heart center thing is big, though. Like, there are some times where how you think about yourself fundamentally changes sometimes based on the pot stuff. Like you hit your heart center and you're like, you see yourself in a different light. You see other people in a different light. You see a situation in a different light. I don't have that with alcohol. And in fact, it's almost the opposite of that. Here's the first drink. How much is a drink in the United States? Tim Bradley. Tim, that drink was $16 a piece. I shit you not. I could not believe that drink was $16 a piece. But New York is running somewhat of a racket. Their cigarettes are $13. I don't smoke. I just saw it on the news, and I damn near fell out the cat. It's $13 a pop. I mean, $13 for a pack. Um, the gas is up to like $6, nearly $6. That's because they're shutting down gas stations in Manhattan. Um, Property is through the roof because they've been using kind of like people have been buying the properties, and they've just been using it for like Airbnbs as opposed to actually using them for the property that they were supposed to. New York is odd. Like people are complaining that they can't really live in Manhattan um, because of the expense. New York is an odd bird, and I was like, but you have a socialist mayor, and they were like, yeah, okay, he's not doing anything. And then the interesting part, it may be because of that socialist mayor that some of that shit is taking place. If he's emphasizing regulation and stuff like that, yeah, it's weird. It's really weird. And Richmond drinks don't cost as much. This is just New York. Cigarettes should cost as much as a smoker are willing to pay for them. Oh, that's brutal. That's brutal, Ophidian. You're a bad guy. See card. How much of the cigarette costs are taxed? It is tax. Now, like the cost of it is tax. Like the thing that you're paying. Like you may only pay a few dollars for cigarettes. It's the $13 is purely because of the tax. They just put that much shit on top of it. New York is talking about pot, legalizing pot. What is the tax going to be on marijuana if they legalize pot? That fucking amazing. Yeah, no sympathy for smokers. What about for sugar, Stephanie? Call in. I'm open this for call-ins. Let's have this conversation. Stephanie says no sympathy for smokers. Start vaping, get into MJs, or just stop smoking tobacco. Smoke is gross. Stephanie, call in. The number's at the bottom. Call in. I want you to call in. I am Solid. Once played a game of chess with literally 4 blunts going around at once, at least 7 shots and 12 mag. I respect you even more, Jamal. Make a burger ready to. That's awesome. I used to, one of my friends, a guy named Bubby, we used to play chess, and when we played, Bubby used to take Cavassier, and he would have his bottle of Cavassier, he would take it out, and he would pour his shot, and he would have a little like a thing, and he would have like pot in it, and he would take his pot out, put it in his pipe, take his hits, and just playing. Like the game he's playing, just smoking and drinking and playing chess. It's awesome. Fucking awesome. Hello, who's calling?
It's Stephanie.
Stephanie, what's happening?
Is this Jamal?
This is Jamal.
Doesn't sound like Jamal.
It's Jamal. It's Jamal. It's me. My mic is, I'm using a different mic because I don't have my other mic, but this is me.
You sound so different when, on the phone versus on the YouTube thing.
Do I?
It's so weird. Like, it's like you're a totally different person. I thought it was some guy pranking me, being like, yeah, this is Jamal. And I'm like, no, it's not.
Is it like a big husky voice? It's like a man's voice where it's like a
No, it sounded like like it sounded like a cartoon character for a minute. I was like, hello? But
well, thanks. That's better. YouTube, I was thinking of a big hulking He-Man. You're a cartoon character. Fair enough. I'm thinking of a big hulking He-Man character, and you're saying a cartoon. But that's okay. Fair enough.
It's the pitch is higher on my phone for some reason. On the YouTube, you sound normal, but on the phone, it sounds like you ever seen Roger Rabbit when the guy's voice gets high after they turn him into like a cartoon and they squish him?
Wait. They're saying I have an echo. Hold on. Let me kill this. Let me try to kill this echo. All
right. It's the phone. I wasn't insulting.
No, I'm teasing. Okay. I'm teasing. All right. I'm hoping this echo is better. Is this echo?
I said no sympathy for smokers.
Yeah. So I'm curious about this. All right. So no sympathy for smokers. So explain your case. Why is there no sympathy for smokers?
Here's my thing. It's from life experience. I don't have a problem with people who like pot. Okay. I have an issue
Pot's
with
fair game.
Tobacco smoke in particular because it kind of for a while like really messed up my dad's life. Like he's missing a lot of teeth from it.
Okay.
And no sympathy for smokers, because obviously I have sympathy for him.
Yeah.
But like, no sympathy for smokers getting charged really high money to smoke, because they shouldn't. There are alternatives now. And I mean tobacco, because tobacco is really bad for you.
No, I agree.
And I know that sugar's not good for you either, but it does not give you, well, maybe it does give you cancer.
Let me ask you this. So if the city comes and says, look, we found out through scientific research that sugar increases the insulin level in human beings. And because it spikes the insulin level in human beings, a lot of the problems that people have from the standpoint of health is really associated with the insulin spike, not necessarily the other stuff that people deal with. So if we need to deal with issues of aging and cancer and heart disease, this is one of those issues we need to deal with, and we need to deal with it through sugar. So, ergo, we're increasing the cost of sugar 20-fold because we don't necessarily want to get rid of it, but we want to make it difficult for people to buy. Would that be also fair game?
The thing is that I do have an addiction to sugar, and I feel like that would help me. So if the argument is like, what if I took sugar from you because that's your thing? And I think, like, I don't know if I have enough self-control, so maybe it would actually help me, you know? Because I think about that sometimes. It's so easy to grab, like, a soda because they're only, like, $2 or $3, or a pack of cigarettes, you know, like, it's, what, on average, like, $10?
What about McDonald's, if they say the same thing about McDonald's?
Please,
Those hamburgers are disgusting.
Now. You know, I got a fight at a McDonald's. This lady was, like, hitting her kid, so I started a fight with her, and then the manager was like, ladies, can I help you?
No way.
I'll tell you that right now.
You jumped on somebody at McDonald's.
I went to McDonald's, and I was waiting for a friend, went to the McDonald's, and she's, like, hitting her kid and yelling at her, and I was just like, go hit your kid.
No, you didn't. Are you serious? Oh, that's awesome.
I'll tell you whatever you want. You want to hit me too? And it was like, can I help you later? And I was like, never mind, I'm going to go eat somewhere else. And I walked out. And I was like, wow, that really happened.
So where does this end? So I'm trying to get to this thing. Where does this end? So the state makes a determination that it picks winners and losers from the standpoint of what the public can get. Is that fair? So if it's tobacco, if it's sugar, if it's hamburgers, it could be the gamut.
Well, I mean, we do kind of need to stop eating cows because of the environmental thing. So, I mean, so far, you gotta say something that I'm like, no, that's not fair. I don't want that taste.
No, I guess what I'm saying is it okay for the government to pick winners or losers in this way? I mean, because we can take this to the extreme and say, well, if that's the case, people should have a vegetarian diet.
So you had companies, you know, tricking people into thinking that tobacco smoke was actually good for them, and you know, people were pissed later, so that they found out.
Should they make it illegal?
What's that?
Should they make it illegal? I mean, as opposed to the $13, because ultimately the $13 is trying to deter people from using it. So should they just say, look, let's stop dicking around. This is illegal because it's killing people, so let's not do that.
Well, I think raising the price, like looking at history, raising the price is better than making it illegal, because when they made America dry on alcohol, it created this whole mafia scene, like underground.
But what
the prohibition stuff, where it was like people were selling it.
Wouldn't they do the same thing though?
Kind of thing.
But wouldn't that do the same thing? I mean, cigarettes for $13 creates a black market. If you could go somewhere else and get them for $5 and sell them for $10.
Well, but it's not really like a dangerous black market. It's like, well, these guys are selling for $13. We'll sell, you know, under the table for $6 or whatever. But it's, you know, like, I don't know of any places selling tobacco that are like running a mafia these days.
The African American, what's his name? It's not Michael Brown. I can't think of his name. Got killed on the corner for selling cigarettes.
Oh, really?
In New York, the famous thing where the cops choked the guy to death because he was selling cigarettes.
That's what he was doing?
He was selling cigarettes. He was selling them under the table.
Because they're expensive in the...
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. All right. Well...
I guess my point is the $13... No, it's not. I guess my feeling is you're right. I think it creates a black market. I think somebody is going to say, well, I can go to New Jersey, I can buy them for $5, and I can sell them for $8. And they're going
But
to
that
come
wasn't
here.
Michael Brown doing anything wrong. That was the police. Like, when it was the
Yeah.
Prohibition era, because they weren't allowed to have it at all, the civilians were, doing highly illegal stuff.
They
Like
was going to
dangerous stuff, like
Canada.
mafia type
Yeah.
stuff.
They was driving from
Well, when
Canada to the States.
the
Yeah.
prices are high, people just try to find a way to sell it cheap, and then the police are the problem. So it seems like it's better to just make the cost high than to ban it altogether. I mean, it's not good for the people with the police, but we work on the police, not on,
Oh, I see what you mean. I see what you mean. It does create a black market. It creates a black market, but the black market is, I guess you're saying, is not as dangerous because
it's
you can
not
get it
as
for 13.
dangerous as prohibition altogether. It's the police that are dangerous right now. Like, I think we can all agree the security state's gotten a little out of control. Like, we've got, constant examples of the police, like, with itchy trigger finger,
Yeah.
and just, they're not taking people in. They're not, they're just like, I was afraid and I shot. And it's like, don't be a fucking police.
It's like, I was terrified. He moved. He moved. And the other guy, look at his big black arms. That was the guy who, the cop. And he's like, what? He's like, they was huge, his big black arms. I just had to shoot him. There was another guy who the cop told him, let me see your driver's license. The guy reaches for a driver's license. The cop shoots him. And he's like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, you reach for your he's like, you moved. You told me to get my driver's license.
That really freaks me out because it feels like there's nothing you can do right when they have the intent to kill. It's like you can't defend yourself.
I don't think it's the intent to kill. I think they're terrified. I think that, the same thing in my head, looking at Africa saying there's a bunch of kids with, with flies over them, and that's all of Africa. That's the second largest continent, which is nonsense. I think it's something similar that's going on in their heads from the standpoint of their, their jobs. They're trained. Everything is a threat. You need to make sure you come home. These people could kill you. Look at this video where this guy gets murdered. And you send these guys out, and everybody's a threat. Like Bob, Joe, Tim, it's not just the person in the neighborhood. This person is now a threat to me, and I am terrified. Like, part of this has to do with the way they're trained. It's not threat escalation, like de-escalation. It's, I need to be the man in the situation, have absolute control. As opposed to, I need to de-escalate this particular situation. Those are very different things. It seems like they magnificently missed that part. But wait. I still want to dig into this. If the state says, look, we need to have a vegetarian diet, because ultimately people live longer with a vegetarian diet, and we have less medical issues, meaning we can cut down on the amount of money that we're spending on healthcare. This is a win-win. Will you be behind that?
I feel like the research is not strong enough on that yet. Like,
what?
If they said we want to cut out.
The research is strong on that, Stephanie.
Well, the research is stronger on cutting red meat out of your diet, but a totally vegetarian diet, that's argued all the time if that's healthy or not. Like, vegetarians often have a problem with, like, not getting their B12 vitamins, not absorbing them.
That's true.
And with iron issues. So I feel like that would be a highly debatable subject. And
but those things can be given. Wait. Those things can be supplemented just by supplement. I mean, you're talking about like one or two things. If you're talking about heart disease, cancer, diabetes. I know. I'm talking about the wide spectrum of illness and disease that, for the most part, is either gut lessened through a vegetarian diet. And look, if the person wants to supplement with fish or something like that, fair enough. I mean, I don't necessarily do well with a vegetarian diet. I started dropping my weight, even with just with fish. But I'm just trying to make this point of, if the state comes in and gives a heavy-handed, if the goal is to help people to live longer, we're going to take issues. For example, in New York, where they said you can only have 16 ounces of soda. And you're like, what? Is that right? And I'm not saying this in an odd way. I'm saying this because I'm stuck with the dilemma. We have a capitalistic society, and that society says McDonald's is perfectly okay, Burger King is perfectly okay, even though they're selling shit and piss for people to eat. It is very possible that eating that garbage ends up with people with cancer for 20 years later, but you can't make the connection between those two things because the hamburger, and you don't know which hamburger gave you cancer, knowing that's probably the cumulative thing. Right. I guess I'm making a point that all of these food places care less about your well-being from a health standpoint. They just care about their dollar. So the food that they give you is going to have a less or only enough of a quality that you would accept to eat. This is not nutritious by any measure of the word. All of these places, all these food places, they don't care about your nutritional value. They just care about you buying their product. The goal of it is the profit, not necessarily your well-being. If
So
we
this is not a capitalism discussion?
No, it kind of is, but I guess I'm making a point. At which point does the state say, enough, you guys are killing people? In the same way, because the tobacco argument or even the sugar argument, it sounds like all of these arguments are the same. How does society itself get itself to the point where food becomes nutritious, healthy, and everything else if the capitalistic system says we just need to sell people the worst shit on the planet that they'll buy? Because ultimately, the cigarette thing is essentially running headlong against the capitalistic thing. You're trying to hurt my sales of cigarettes. That's essentially what this tax is doing. We're trying to hurt the sales of cigarettes. But they don't have the balls to just say, we're just banning cigarettes. Because ultimately, that's what they're trying to
I
do.
don't know if it's about the balls. It may be like that they look at history and they go, this is going to up the crime rate. Because when it's banned,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's easy for mafia-type figures to be like, look what your government's doing to you. We'll take care of you. We're better than they are. That's the kind of that's how mafias form. Is that it's like, oh, your government isn't taking care of you. We'll take care of you. We got a group. We got a family over here. You can be part of our family.
I just don't understand how the $13 is not the same. Like it feels like not feels, but the $13 creates just of an incentive or the same incentive as if they absolutely banned it. Does that make sense? Like the incentive, because we're talking about somebody having the capacity to make $1, and whatever that dollar is, and somebody says $13 for cigarettes, that's insane. I can supply those cigarettes for $8. Now, you've created an industry where somebody's going to try to do this. Now, you may say the cops may shoot those people, fair enough, but the industry still exists. I mean, you're still creating that black market for cigarettes. And there is a black market for cigarettes, by the way. Like, they have busts and stings all the time from the standpoint of cigarettes. Like, I know it sounds weird.
I did not know, so I have to think about that piece of information. Because I didn't realize that's what he was doing. But I'd still say that if we were to train the cops better, and that should be the focus, not be like, well, look, this problem happened because he was selling cigarettes. Really, was it because he was selling cigarettes, or because we have a problem with our police?
No, that was because we have a problem with cops. No, that really is because we have a problem with our cops. I don't think it's because we were selling cigarettes. But those people will be arrested for selling those cigarettes. And the black market is created by selling those cigarettes. I mean, I'm just making the point that the black market
if we
is
didn't
created.
have crazy police, if we get our police under control, and they were just like, British police aren't perfect, but they don't even have guns.
They don't have guns,
it's a little less,
murdery. There's less murdery.
More, like British police, where it's like, oh, this officer can help me, instead of, oh God, it's the police. Then if they arrested someone for like selling cigarettes on the street, would it be much different than like arresting someone for selling like cocaine on the street, kind of thing? I mean, there are going to be some things where it's like, hey, that's kind of a dangerous substance. You probably shouldn't be selling that on the street. We don't know if it's like.
No, I guess my point is it's a black market. I mean, my point is there's making it $13, and a black market would almost inevitably be created because of the incentives that's created by putting a $13 tax.
Okay, you know that you would be a great dictator. I'm just gonna.
No, I'm not. No, you missed my point.
I'm gonna say that if I was dictator of America, there's no red meat, or it'd be incredibly expensive, because that would help a lot of people. There would be cigarettes would be expensive, and we encourage people to use marijuana instead, or other healthy types of drugs like.
So only the rich could have steak?
Sure.
Wow, you're a horrible dictator. I don't want to live in Stephanie's land, man. That's harsh.
The thing is, let them die. If they're hoarding money, they're not good for society. So,
what about what about just saying we need to not let them hoard money? I mean, at the point where you're a dictator, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, and on the question of sugar, I feel like we should. We should do something about that, but I'm not sure because it's like I think raising the price on it, people are still going to get it. Sugar is used for so much stuff.
Sodas. Sometimes they put it in hot dogs. You're talking about like a
I
wide
mean, in America,
swath
we
of
have it
stuff.
in everything.
It's in
The
everything.
country would go through a mass withdrawal. We probably have a spike of people getting diabetes because, like, if your sugar isn't regulated and your insulin spikes, you can get diabetes. I may sound like I may not know the science behind it completely, but I've heard that if you don't have enough sugar, you can also like get diabetes because your body stops learning how to
Process.
make insulin or something
Now I've never heard
properly.
that one, but no, I've never heard that one. But that doesn't just because I haven't heard a lot of stuff. Um, but I'm curious on this one. Why are you so sheepish on sugar? I mean, you've been somewhat of a
I'm
hawk
not
in
sure
making
what
sure
to
people
do
are okay
about
with
it.
tobacco, but with sugar, you're being squeamish.
Because I'm not sure what to do about it. Like, I feel like
Wouldn't it extend people's lives if they didn't have this?
Because I had this thing against sugar because I was addicted to it, and I was like, I gotta cut my sugar out. And then this like lady who was my fitness instructor was like, no, you can't cut all your sugar out.
No,
you
you
need
can't.
to have like
You have to have
healthy
some.
carbs. That's not healthy. So she was like, have sugar from like fruit and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Well, I'm not talking about fruit. I'm talking about no. I'm talking about white sugar. No, I'm talking like white sugar, corn syrup, like that. Like I'm not talking about like fructose or like
the
from
bad
sugar.
sugar is what raise the cost on those things.
Right. Oh, you're just raising the cost. You're not taking it off the market.
You can't take the sugar out of people's diets. It's actually bad for them. You just got to cut it down.
Well, you can take out white sugar. Nobody needs white sugar. I mean, ultimately, people can get from fruit, veggies. That you can get sugar from those items.
You've got a trade problem because I mean, the thing is, like tobacco. We've already gotten to this point where it's like, I mean, everybody in the world uses sugar. So I don't know about that. That's like if you like put a cost hike on salt. Like it's like it's a little bit more. I mean, like.
You don't care about people's health, Stephanie?
What's that? I do care about people's health, but I also care about not making their health worse by making sugar really expensive for the poor or salt really expensive. Like, they don't need tobacco, but you need sugar and salt for cooking.
No, this is got. Well, wait. You don't need white sugar.
I think France has banned high fructose corn syrup. We could ban high fructose corn syrup.
Well, you don't need white sugar for anything.
There's no black market for high fructose corn syrup in France. They just know it's bad for them.
they just stop using it. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You don't need white sugar. Like white sugar is completely irrelevant. Like
I'd totally be a dictator, Tyler.
She's like, I'm raising the price on tobacco and I'm raising the price on sugar. Putting the tax on it all. All right, fair enough. I mean, I can appreciate that. You essentially,
Okay, wait a minute. I'm gonna be clear, okay?
Wait a minute, just so.
Need tobacco if they are trying to self-medicate. We make it easy for them to get a hold of marijuana. I feel like.
So wait. Down with tobacco, up with the joints. I love this.
Now it's much different than right now. People can't get a hold of marijuana. Okay, like it's like, oh, you can get $13 cigarettes, but you're not allowed to have that marijuana. And they're not called dictators, but I'm a dictator because I want to switch it around.
I love the argument of like, it's like, how are you going to call me a dictator because I'm trying to do X, Y, Z? I love that. And then I can hear the political opposition was like, she doesn't care about people's health.
Science. Marijuana is harmful as the tobacco, so we're just living in Alice in Wonderland crazy land, okay? Like, there's no reason or rhyme for it. They're just like, well, it's always been this way. We're going to continue doing it this way. Ha-ha!
What I would do, if I was a dictator, I would get rid of cash, and I would, and the reason I would do that, because the issues with, like, a McDonald's go away if people didn't have to work at McDonald's. And maybe get rid of cash is too strong. Let me say it from the standpoint of make the society, however we do it, to make sure people have access to the things that they need. So right off the bat, if that's a UBI, whether it's a federal jobs guarantee, I don't want people working at McDonald's if they don't have to work at McDonald's. Which means I want to drain the workforce from McDonald's. Now the catch becomes, how does McDonald's get those hamburgers if they don't have anybody to flip those hamburgers? McDonald's is probably going to get to automated and that type of stuff. How do I get my society to not eat bad shit? That's my question, and I don't know the answer to that.
You know, like the healthiest people in the world next to Japan, I think. because Japan's like on an all fish and
Yeah, there's like
right?
microbiotic diet. But how do
We
we?
combine the diet of Japan with like the way they do their health regulations in France, and we save the world. That's how we do it.
The United States has a weird problem. The United States looks at food and nutrition from the standpoint of a capitalistic lens. It's bizarre. So we have a burger place here. It's damn good actually. Humanely raised, so you don't feel horrible as you're eating a hamburger. Um, it's a massive hamburger. I think it's like it's more than a quarter of a pound. It's like a half a pound. Nobody needs that much hamburger. But they give you that much hamburger because they can charge you more for it. It's not about the nutritional value of the hamburger. It's not even about how much hamburger you need per se. It's about how much we can give you to convince you that the value that we're giving you is worth the extra money that you're getting out of it. So maybe the amount of hamburger they added technically costs $1 more, but the value added makes it like $3 more, so they can essentially extract more wealth from you as opposed to selling you a hamburger that's much smaller. That's all you need. They do this across the board. Like if you notice, in many of the food places, they give you an exorbitant amount of food in the United States because they wanted to be able to charge more for the food. When you go abroad, I remember a British woman, she's like, you're not going to get that much here, right? Like she was like, the sandwich that you're getting is not going to look like the sandwich you get in America. She was like trying to brace me for this thing. I've been in places in New York where they put a pound of meat on a sandwich. Think about that. A pound of meat. Who needs a pound of meat on a goddamn sandwich? But they're doing that.
I just eat fish and veggies now, personally.
They do that, but for the rest of the public, they do that stuff because they try to maximize the amount they can squeeze out of the public. And the side effect of this is the public gets overweight. Like, so you go somewhere and they give you this exorbitant amount of food just because they want to extract as much wealth from you. And so you have a population that gets more and more and more overweight. I tell my wife that, and she hates it when I say this, but I said, when you go out the country, your weight is going to drop. Because your society is different. Like, it's hard to lose weight in a society that's organized in a way that's against you losing weight. It's like the trend.
It's like it's set up to make people more
fail.
obese in America.
Yeah, it's so bizarre.
That's another reason I have to save up before I visit Japan. Because I plan on going there for like a month, so that while I'm there vacationing, I also lose weight.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Everyone I know who's visited and stayed a couple of weeks dropped like 5 or 10 pounds. So, it's a diet.
Depending on what it is, it may be more than that. I mean, if you're walking from point A to point B, and like imagine for the moment you're living in like Paris or somewhere, or you're traveling, and everywhere you're going, you're like walking. Like you're going from the bus, you're going to this way. In Richmond, I don't know how it is where you are, but in Richmond, everybody drives. There's public transportation, but not many people use it. Ultimately, everybody has a car. I don't know anybody that takes the bus.
I prefer to, but there's a lot of places, the South, like my experience has been that there's a lot of places they don't even have sidewalks. They don't care about people who walk. There's like not crosswalks,
Yeah.
Like I've been to several different places and tried walking around them, and it's like Alabama's okay, Tennessee is horrible, Florida is great for walkers. Pennsylvania is amazing. Like, oh my
You said Pennsylvania.
For people who walk and bike,
they take more pride in their states.
I'm gonna move here someday. Like, so.
The wild part about it is, if it was me, if I was a dictator, I would take pride in building shit up in my country. Like it wouldn't occur to me not to build shit up. Like I would build just random fucking things just to build random fucking things just so people will have some shit to do. Like I would say I'm gonna create a hyperloop from Florida to California, and I would have Elon Musk designing it because that's the thing that he wants to design.
Like Elon Musk, but actually effective, because you'd be building like things for people for transport.
Yeah. That's exactly what I do.
He must be like rolling around in his grave right now because I just saw like Bernie Sanders did a thing about how they're treating their workers and how they're trying to like entice them with like $1,000 thing if they drop their unions.
No way! Are you serious? I didn't know that.
Yes, as part of that Trump tax break thing, where it's like, well, you only get your tax break if you break up your union.
I did not.
Like,
wow.
They're already only getting $10.25 an hour. And the cost of living, let me tell you, because I lived across the street from Universal, my rent was $1,000 a month, and that was 7 years ago, so I imagine it's even higher now. I left Disney. I worked at Disney 6 months and went to Universal. I worked at Universal 10 years because the difference of how they treat their employees at Universal and Disney is immense. Immense. And I went to Disney first because I love Walt Disney himself and his vision for Epcot.
You love
what
Walt
you're
Disney.
describing that you want to do is what he wanted to do. He wanted all of Florida to have all of these like hyperloops and tunnels, and people can get. It was all about the people there. Where it's like it's not just fun for the people who are visiting Disney World, but the people who live there will be in like a utopia because they can walk there and all the air will be super clean, and they'll have like bubbles to be safe from the hurricanes that they can put up. You know, like it was like ideas like the Truman Show, except they're not trapped in there. They just kind of go over, like, because it would give everybody perks to do those kind of jobs, to build this technological dream city.
Yeah.
And it just threw it all in the trash. You know, like,
wow.
Epcot is now like, you're visiting France, here's 3 stores, and, you know, like, here's a ride. And
that sucks. That so sucks. You can do it, man. I mean, your country, I mean, the country itself is a sovereign currency. You do whatever it wants. And yet, it doesn't. Like, you would think that it would say, I'm building a Hyperloop. I'm building, solar panels on all of the houses. I'm making all of these houses energy independent. I'm doing, like, all of the things that you could come up with. Like, think of all the jobs that need to take place. Like you said, sidewalks in those particular in those states. That's shit that people could be doing. The roads here in Virginia, that's shit that people can be doing. Like, there's so much stuff that people could be doing.
Oh my God. Have you seen the roads in Alabama are awful. If you're driving through Alabama, be very careful because there are potholes everywhere. There's still jobs that people could have. And so, I mean, this is me praising Bernie again because I love Bernie.
Do you think? Praise
but,
Bernie.
Like,
do you think?
Program thing is like, finally, someone is actually doing this. And it's like, if you were dictator or I was dictator, that would be happening. I can feel it. You know, it'd be like, okay, jobs program. We're gonna do Disney in Florida the way he actually wanted it to be. And
I would have a highly technological.
So I don't care if you're upset CEOs. You'll lose all your money if you don't do what I say.
I would have a highly technical. In fact, I would have a Star Trek world. I mean, I would literally have this. Maybe not like if we haven't gotten to the point of replicators. I would at the very least reorganize society, and I know that's a fuck fest because you're trying. I don't know how you. The problem is I don't know how you change the hegemonic view of humanity, if that makes sense. Like any situation where you have this kind of strata, where you have this kind of top layer, where you have these people who are the oligarchs, the plutocrats. Any change in society where you're trying to make a more equitable society, they have to take a hit. There's no way around it. Like when slavery went under. Well, the slave masters looked at those people as property, and when they said those slaves are free, well, those people lost their property. And it's the same thing. It's this thing of if you're trying to have a more equitable world, it is impossible to have an equitable world with Bill Gates, or with Jeff Bezos having $130 billion. It's impossible. You can't have it both ways. They have to take a hit. Now,
right, because then the oligarchs will just go somewhere else. Because I was thinking, I was like, look, you can keep your money. We're doing this.
Or we can keep your money.
But they might just go somewhere else.
Or you can keep your money, but we're no longer using money in our society. Or that. It's like you can have all the money in the world that you want, but we're now in cashless society. I don't know how to pull that off, though. And I don't even know. Yeah, I don't know how to pull that off.
We'll have to have some planning meetings tomorrow because if we're going to make this happen,
we got to get this shit.
Need to talk. So
we need to get it
just
together.
DM me whenever.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, I was just curious about the position. You made the point, the sugar thing, and I think it's an odd, interesting thing.
I'll make a closing statement here. My thing with tobacco is just that, like, I've seen a lot of people close to me get very sick from tobacco use, and when they switched over to vaping, their lives were improved dramatically.
Much better.
I know some people say, there's problems with vaping too. There's so much less than smoking tobacco.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you're going to self-medicate, do it with marijuana or do it with, kratom or something. You know, something more.
I think I'm more hawkish than you on this. I think I would just say cigarettes are illegal, but with what caveat, you have alternatives, which is the vapes and stuff.
Okay.
Because I think I would make the argument and say, look, these things cause cancer. If we put a product on the market today that says this product will give you cancer, will they allow that product to go into the market? And fuck no. Nobody in their right mind would put a product on the market that literally. Do you know, like, out of all of the cases of cancer, 90% were either people who smoked or people who used to smoke. You can almost literally eradicate lung cancer just by stopping smoking. Like, so I would go with your idea and say, I'm going to make this illegal, but we're going to have alternatives like vapes. So at the very least, if you want to smoke, you can smoke. We're not stopping you from smoking. We're just changing the device that you use to get this tobacco. Is that fair?
Yes, very fair. And just to
Benevolent.
clarify, I didn't mean no sympathy for the smokers, because I know they get addicted. I meant no sympathy for smokers having to pay money for high prices for the tobacco because they shouldn't be smoking. You know, and you can't tobacco through vaping, and it's better for you. It's not perfect, but it's better than straight up smoking tobacco or chewing it. Oh my god,
chewing is disgusting. Yeah, that's disgusting. Yeah, that's disgusting. That's
okay,
utterly disgusting.
I'll go and let somebody else call in then.
Thank you, Steph. You have a good one.
Thanks for telling me to call in. That was fun.
No, right, absolutely. When you said the thing, I was like, uh-oh. I was like, I gotta figure this one out. Because how far do you go? Do you just say, look, everybody, we're having a vegetarian diet. We do have fish, so if people want fish, fair enough. But for the most part, we want a healthy society, and we can't have a healthy society if people are eating shit and piss from McDonald's and Hardee's. So, you know, like how of a hard ass, how much of a hard ass do you be if you're a dictator in this case? Because I have to be honest,
I never said anything about the extra money going to a good cause, Tyler. You stop trolling me, man. I'll call you out. I see you on the text chat.
The extra money is going to good cause. How cute. What? The extra money is going to where? That's funny. Oh, that's hilarious. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Alright, guys. It's 4 in the morning. We have something that's supposed to be done at 10. I really hope I don't have a hangover this morning. So, I am going to get some rest. Thank you guys for calling in. And Jim Hayden, I saw yours. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, Jim Hayden. Siler, I'm impressed with the chest on the blunts. Fucking A, man. Fucking A, that's awesome. Alright, so Patrick Seguin, I am Siler, Crystal Colin, Tim Bradley, and Jim Hayden. Guys, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Peter Vrison, you're up early. You're up late early. I'm up late. I'm about to go to bed for another hour, for about 2 or 3 hours. We have another thing that's coming up supposedly this morning. Hopefully, I can drag my ass out of bed to go to it because I definitely want to see who's supposed to be out there today. Ray McGovern is supposed to be at one of these, but there's somebody else that I wanted to see. So I'm going to end this here. Alright, guys, you all have a good night. Thank you for hanging out with me, as you know, being not necessarily plastered, but definitely not necessarily sane, or not necessarily sober. So I appreciate it, guys. Oh, Jimmy Dore date. I don't know the date for Dore yet. I sent Dore the email. Yeah, I sent him an email. You know, it's funny. I had a conversation with Dore. I think I annoyed him. I tried to put myself. I should have put myself in his shoes before I said it. But what I said was, when I went after TYT in one of those videos, and I was like, Dore, I don't want to mess up anything for your team. So, if me going after TYT in that video is a problem, just understand. You can back away from the interview. No harm, you know, no harm, no foul. I understand it. I went after your company, etc. And he's like, I'm my own man. Nobody tells me what to say. And I'm like, whoa, where is that coming from? And I realized, I think part of part of the attack that sometimes is used against him is he's not saying his own thing, or he's saying something because of Cenk. And I would imagine that chafes him a little bit, especially if he's like, this is bullshit, nobody's telling me what to say, and my question could have been interpreted as a way of like he was being controlled. That wasn't the reason for my question. The reason my question was, if there was any discomfort in coming onto the show after me having to go at the company, just let me know. I understand. It's not control. If I thought Dora was controlled, I wouldn't even care if I wouldn't want him on the show. The reason that Dora is Dora to me is because Dora had the balls to kind of break with the show, like fully break with the show, and what he was saying about the election and everything else. He took a massive hit from people flipping the fuck out over his position, and he was taking that position against a lot of people, including his own company. So no, I don't think Cenk tells him what to say. He has all the respect in the world for me on this front. I don't know the exact date that he's going to be on the show. Whenever he hits me back, hopefully he gives me a date. But oh, Nina Turner. So nobody's going to see this last part. So I can say to our audience, the 96 people will see it. I talked to Nina Turner. Not Nina Turner, but Nina Turner hit me up in a direct message. It was after a video that I did positive coverage about revolution, talking about the political thing. So I asked her for an interview, and she says, yeah, I think I'm going to do a video on this by itself. But she says, check with my appointment person, and that person will, handle it. And I was like, fucking A. I was like, that's pretty fancy. That's, I'd declare that's pretty bourgeois that you got your own appointment person. Fucking A. Is what it is. You need a goddamn Turner. So I hit the appointment person up, and it takes maybe a week or so. And she says, in fact, I'll read it. I'll read it. I'm going to dox myself. Let's see if I can find it. But it effectively, yeah, right here. Thanks, Jamal. Senator Turner's schedule is pretty full right now, but we will reach out in the future if there is an opening. Best. That's a weird reply. What do you mean if there's an opening? You'll reach out if there's an opening? What about December 25th? What about January 3rd, 2019? What about June 16th, 2019? Are you telling me there is no date in the future at all, in all of the rest of time that's associated with our physical matter reality, that there is no date in the future at all? Just saying. Just saying. Just saying. That seems like a put-off. No. It doesn't seem like a put-off, Laura. It is a put-off. Sometime in the future? Are you shitting me? What about June 6, 20, what about September 23rd, 2018, 5 p.m.? How about that? And we can put it down. We can even pencil it down. In fact, write it in pen. Anybody else that's, coming around for interviews and everything else, that particular date will be saved. It's all the way in September. It's in the future. What's the problem? It's put off. It's put off. They want our votes. They don't want to deal with us. Which is what it boils down to. It's like, yes, we want you to vote for us, our candidates, Democratic Party, etc., etc. But I'm uncomfortable coming on the show. I'm uncomfortable. Well, what did Chris had just said? They like the poor, but they don't like the smell of them, or something like that. Thanks, Blank Senator is very busy. Thanks for your interest, Garden Home. Right. That's essentially what it was. Yeah, we appreciate it. The weird part about it is, it's like, why didn't Nina Turner even respond? Like, what was the point in sending me to your appointment person, only for your appointment person to say, go fuck yourself? It's like, that's just bizarre. It's like, hey, I need to refer you to my appointment person because I don't like to tell people to go fuck themselves myself. I have somebody else to say, go fuck themselves. It's like, okay, thanks. That's great. Yes, that's what Chris Edges says. That's kind of what it feels like, without this being poor, but progressives in this case. Jamal, I don't overestimate your reach, but humans are humans. Keep trying and asking. Give it some time to respond. Keep it with reflexivity as much as you can. Never get head swell. Oh God, head swell. fucking YouTube channel. Come on. Democrats running pedos now. Wake up, progressives. Who are you talking about? Who are you talking about? Nina, that'd be amazing. That's okay. You got a name. Just send in requests every now and then. Name recognition. I did. She responded. She responded. She told me to contact her appointment person. I contacted her appointment person, and her appointment person said what I just read, which was a kiss-off. Her schedule is pretty full right now, but we'll reach out in the future if there's an opening. Because each and every day for the rest of Nina Turner's life, her appointment person has somebody penciled in for Nina Turner. That's what I must understand from this. If at some point in the future, one of those people who for every day of Nina Turner's life has somebody penciled in, if one of those people cancel on Nina Turner, then I may get that spot. But with somebody who's penciled in for every day for Nina Turner, it's much likely that there's somebody who's also a secondary for Nina Turner. This response, just say no. Just say no. Jamal, you see more of that going forward. Just say no. What face is there to save? Why even respond to the message? Like, Nina Turner had for the most part ignored all of my direct messages when I sent them before. Why respond? Why respond? I am wishing for a YouTube host to have Bill Maher. I would love to have Bill Maher on. I have some questions for Bill Maher. Peter version 1. Yeah, I have some questions for Bill Maher. I would love to have Bill Maher on the show. He would never come on. I would love to have him on the show. He would. I would love. In fact, I would love to be on Real Time with Bill Maher. He would. Man. They're not ready. They're not ready. I don't care what Nina has to say. Be frank. She is a Democrat functionary, so it would be spin. I have my hypothesis. And I think I'm probably going to do a separate video, but I do have an hypothesis. With the thing that took place with what's her name? I can't think of her name. Sauce with T. With that taking place, and Politico essentially looking for one story after the next to hit her on, and Our Revolution on, minimizing your exposure, if that makes sense. Like minimizing your hit points, the spots where you can be hit. And hit from the standpoint of not us, but from the standpoint of Democratic functionaries. Like part of the issue that they had with her was that she showed up on Fox News. I have no issue playing anything for Fox News. I don't particularly like Democrats at all. And, you know, somebody looking at what I'm saying, that like Nina Turner showed up on the channel of somebody who's openly hostile towards Democrats. Like, so I think I get it to that degree. But I guess my feeling on that is, well, if, you know, why should I support your candidate if you're not willing to, you know, show up? So, Jamal, that's how things done. That's how things work in polite society. I feel you. I feel you. Can I get in on these shots? Can I get in on these shots? Crystal Colon, Deborah Walsman Schultz. Oh yeah. I mean, we I forget the name of the bar. We just went to the Hudson place. First question for Bill Maher: how does it feel to be a neoliberal hack? And do you remember Lawrence O'Donnell had a conversation with Anthony Weiner, and Lawrence O'Donnell asked him one question: "What's wrong with you?" he says, "What? What's wrong with you?" And then they put a close up on his face, on Anthony Weiner's face. And he says, well, it seems like you've had an issue where you need to be in political life. I just want to know what's wrong with you. And the entire interview was him asking him like this one question. It was one of the most brutal interviews I've ever seen in my life. Where did your brain start to addle exactly? Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. All right, guys, I'm going to end this here. Yes, from a strategic point of view, it would be, yeah. I think it would open her to attack. I think In the same way they were hitting her with the Democrat stuff, they would say, this guy's openly hostile towards Democrats, to which point I would be like, yes, I am openly hostile towards Democrats. That doesn't necessarily help her. If anything, if she'd be coming on, she'd be coming on with this idea of how many people can she pull to her side as opposed to not be attacked for it, if that makes sense. I don't necessarily know if there's a political win in coming on, and at this point, she's a political animal. She's, clearly, so it's what it is. Alright, I'll be at the Death of Nonpartisan Journalism at 2 p.m. You're not going to the early one? Oh, that's funny. Well, it's 4 a.m. and you're still up, so I imagine you're in the same spot that I'm in, where I'm not sure. Alright, guys. Thank all of you for showing up. This was a nice talk. I mean, it's been like 2.5 hours dicking around at the left forum. I know this wasn't necessarily the most ideal thing, but hopefully this wasn't too painful. I'd imagine this was probably a hell of a lot easier for the people who were live as opposed to people who may be seeing this video later, because it's not the same effect. And I may just cut the video to the main parts, but thank you guys for showing up. It's fucking awesome. I would love to do this live. Like, and what I mean by live, this at a real spot. And I don't know how to pull it off. Like, say for example, as opposed to a panel. Say it's not a panel. Say it's a room. Say it's, doing a show. And say it's the audience with you, and you guys are dicking around as you do the show. As opposed, the chat is interacting. It's like an interactive thing at that point. I don't know how to pull it off, but I think I have this conception in my head that would be awesome. I am solid. This was good shit. Oh, so you like this? Maybe I'm slightly inebriated. Thank you, Siler. I appreciate it. Alright, guys. I'm going to take my inebriated self, or slightly inebriated. At this point, it's eased up, but I have a headache, which is freaking me out. I didn't have that much. I only had 3 mojitos. There's no way. So, I'll end this. Alright, guys. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, and subscribe. And of course, you can always support the Patreon. Thanks, everyone. And thanks, guys. How do I end this? Right here.